In her past life, a woman was tortured to death as a plaything by a powerful man. But unexpectedly, she was reborn in the next second, returning to the time before the tragedy began. Living a new life, the woman was determined to make the villains pay the price, using her own methods to give them a taste of their own medicine. She would focus on her career and no longer get involved in romance. But she never expected to be latched onto by an innocent, puppy-like young man. The innocent pop queen's image collapsed. Explicit videos featuring multiple men were exposed. Late at night, on a well-known gossip forum, someone anonymously posted several explicit videos. Shockingly, the female star of these videos was the popular pop queen, Gu Qianyan. The male leads were also quickly identified as famous wealthy businessmen from various circles. Early in the morning, this explosive incident quickly hit the headlines of all major platforms. Faced with such an event, the online spectators were all eager to know the truth behind it, immediately launching a unified verbal assault. At this moment, Gu Qianyan's hands and feet were bound to a bed with 4 iron chains. The sharp words of netizens were projected onto the wall in front of her. She trembled as she looked at the words, her beautiful little face deathly pale. What was this before her eyes? And who had tied her up in this strange place? Gu Qianyan, this gift I prepared for you. Do you like it? The door creaked open. Hearing this voice, Gu Qianyan looked over in horror, staring in disbelief at the source. The source was none other than the younger sister she had cherished and raised, Gu Qianqian. Gu Qianqian's smile was exceptionally sinister. Gu Qianyan, even now, you still think it was mom and dad who did this to you, don't you? Wrong. It was me, Gu Qianqian continued. That night 3 years ago, you thought you were drunk. No, I was the one who drugged you. I was the one who personally took you there. I was also the one who called Mr. Jean to that room. Gu Qianyan couldn't accept it at all. She questioned loudly, I took care of you since you were little, cared for you meticulously, and protected you. Why would you do this to me? Why? Gu Qianqian grabbed Gu Qianyan's chin, grinding her teeth in hatred. You ask why? Because you're not mom and dad's biological child at all. You're just a machine they abducted to make money. Back then, to abduct you, my parents killed your parents with their own hands. But all of this is about to end. By tomorrow, you will no longer exist in this world. She gritted her teeth, pinned Gu Qianyan down, and plunged the syringe in her hand into Gu Qianyan's arm. Then, 2 burly men walked in and forcibly dragged Gu Qianyan out. She knew that under the effect of the drug, she would be at the mercy of those people. The people she loved most had all betrayed her. Instantly, her heart turned ice cold. The next second, Gu Qianyan suddenly turned her head and said, Qianqian, if I die, will this carnival end? As she spoke, she used the last of her strength to push away the burly man beside her and stood on the deck. The carnival has already begun. If I die, they will just find a replacement. And who do you think that replacement will be? It will be you, Gu Qianqian. After saying this, she leaned back and fell into the boundless sea. She had possessed immense glory, and she had also been trampled into the endless deep sea. If only all of this could start over. The next second, the icy seawater and boundless darkness swallowed her whole. When she opened her eyes again, a voice sounded, Don't worry, I've already gotten him completely drunk. In a daze, Gu Qianyan heard a familiar voice. She opened her eyes with a splitting headache. She dazedly looked around her. Isn't this the place where she was first defiled 3 years ago? Gu Qianyan's heart raced. The effects of the alcohol were mostly gone. The familiar environment, the familiar person. Could it be that she had been reborn and returned to the past? All right, we'll talk about the rest when we meet. Mr. Jean should be here soon. At this moment, Gu Qianqian was still on the phone, unaware that Gu Qianyan behind her had already woken up. Without a second thought, Gu Qianyan grabbed a table lamp and smashed it over Gu Qianqian's head. Then, she dragged the unconscious Gu Qianqian onto the bed. She picked up the syringe she had placed by the bed and injected the entire contents into Gu Qianqian. Since heaven has given me a second chance, I absolutely will not repeat my past mistakes. From now on, whoever tries to harm me, I will pay them back double. Gu Qianqian, I wish you good luck tonight, my dear sister. I hope when a knife falls on you, You won't feel any pain either. Then, Gu Qianyan quickly left the room, but the drug was still in her system. She had to get to a hospital immediately. But just as she stepped out of the room, she heard a chilling and nauseating voice from the elevator. I'm not going over tonight. I found a pretty little starlet to keep me company. At that moment, her heart leaped into her throat. She randomly found a room and hid inside. Hiding behind the door, Gu Qianyan's heart pounded like thunder. She had almost been discovered, but the drug in her body was already boiling in her blood. With Mr. Jin's men standing at the door, going out would be suicide. Just then, a man's voice suddenly came from behind her. Who are you? At this critical moment, a deep, subwoofer-like male voice exploded right behind the woman's ear. Gu Qianyan was startled. She subconsciously looked outside the door. She thought she saw the gazes of the two bodyguards across the hall turn in her direction. She had no choice. She immediately spun around, pinning the man behind her against the wall. She covered his mouth with one hand and his eyes with the other. Although the room was dark, Gu Qianyan still subconsciously feared that he would see her face that don't move, don't make a sound. I won't hurt you. The man was a bit taller than her. Gu Qianyan stood on her tiptoes and whispered in his ear. Gu Qianyan could feel his firm muscles. These hormones, this potent mix of pheromones, perfectly accelerated and catalyzed the drug's effect in Gu Qianyan's body. Before the man could say a word, Gu Qianyan kissed him directly. Gu Qianyan couldn't quite remember what happened after that. The large room was a complete mess. Gu Qianyan looked at herself. The dress she had worn last night. She didn't know if it was of poor quality or what. In any case, it was now torn to shreds and unwearable. She looked helplessly at the jacket on the floor, then glanced back at the still sleeping man. A moment later, Gu Qianyan wrapped herself in the large jacket. To avoid taking any of the man's belongings, she rummaged through the pockets and found only a business card. In the dim light, Gu Qianyan saw it clearly. Printed on it was a half-naked, alluringly handsome man. Next to it was the name King Kong Baby. Below was a phone number, and under the number, a line of small text, at your service, body and soul. She swallowed hard and glanced at the man on the bed again. S.O. This is what he does for a living. But last night, he seemed quite stern at first. Could he be new to the business? Gu Qianyan thought for a moment. If he's a professional, then things are simple. Just pay after the service is done. There won't be any other entanglements. Gu Qianyan didn't dare to linger. After a brief moment of reflection, she walked straight to the door. Not long after Gu Qianyan left, the man on the bed woke up. He sat up, his brows tightly furrowed. He raised his hand and pulled off the hair tie covering his eyes, looking around. Just as Gu Qianyan had expected, he was indeed an exceptionally handsome man. The mess in the room triggered the man's chaotic memories of last night. His brows furrowed even tighter. His gaze suddenly turned cold. Where did that woman go? His gaze finally landed on the bedside table. He reached out and picked up the earrings and note Gu Qianyan had left. Hello, Mr. King Kong Baby. These earrings are your payment. Also, you tore my dress, so I can't wear it. From now on, we are even, money, and trouble cleared. We owe each other nothing. King Kong Baby. Gong Yi's face instantly darkened. What the hell is King Kong Baby? The next second, he saw the business card placed next to the earrings. Gong Yi was so angry he laughed. Who would have thought that he, Gong Yi, would one day be paid for his body? He immediately picked up the phone and ordered his assistant to find out the woman's identity. He finally learned that the woman was the award-winning actress Gu Qianyan. After a whole night of torment, Gu Qianyan at one point thought she was going to die. Gu Qianyan watched from a distance, thinking that after today, Gu Diheo and the others would definitely find out that she wasn't the one who had been with Mr. Jin. At that point, they would surely try to come after her again. The people around her were all sent by that couple to monitor her. To completely get rid of them, she had to deal with them all and replace them with her own people. Recalling her past life, only her assistant, Zhou, was the one person who genuinely helped her. Perhaps she could be of use. So, Gu Qianyan picked up her phone and called Zhou. Zhou, are you home? I'm coming over to find you now. Then, she explained the situation clearly. Zhou was furious that they're really despicable. It's one thing to give you bad scripts for money, but now they're actually drugging you and doing such a filthy thing. Gu Qianyan looked at Zhou, her gaze becoming incredibly firm. Zhou, I've seen their true colors completely. I don't want to be controlled by them, and be a money-making machine anymore. So, I've decided to break free from their control immediately. Zhou was stunned for a moment. That won't be easy. Are you sure? Gu Qianyan looked at her. Easy or not, I have no way out. Between them and me, it's either they die or I do. Gu Qianyan's attitude was resolute. Next, Zhou asked what they should do now. Gu Qianyan said, "First, let's watch the show." She raised her phone and called her parents. "Dad, is Qianqian with you? I need to talk to her," but she's not answering her phone. Her father was clearly stunned when he answered the call. Why was Gu Qianyan's voice coming from the phone? Who was inside? After exchanging a look, the father and mother pulled back the curtain and saw. It was their biological daughter, Qianqian. Gu Qianyan hung up the phone and said to Zhou, "They know now. The person last night wasn't me. It's time for me to go see their suffering." Then she left Zhou's home. Gu Qianqian lay numbly on the hospital bed, her eyes staring blankly ahead, while Zhang Yumei cried and cursed heartbrokenly beside her. Her mind was consumed with this matter. Why had things turned out this way? According to her plan, the one lying here now should have been Gu Qianyan. Mom, how is Qianqian? Just then, Gu Qianyan arrived late. As soon as she heard Gu Qianyan's voice, the younger sister immediately rushed forward. She screamed like a madwoman, "I'm going to kill you." Gu Qianyan dodged nimbly. Gu Qianqian missed and fell flat on her face in an embarrassing heap. "Oh, Qianqian, are you okay?" Zhang Yumei and Gu Diheo immediately rushed over, shouting to help Gu Qianqian up. "It was Gu Qianyan who harmed me. She must have been the one who knocked me out last night and made me take her place." Gu Qianqian looked at Gu Qianyan with hatred. "That Jiu Qianyan, you are so vicious." "Qianqian, I don't understand what you're talking about. I'm your older sister. How could I harm you?" Gu Qianyan looked at Gu Qianqian with a face full of pity. "And what are you saying about replacing me? I don't understand." Gu Qianqian was choked with emotion. "Mom, Dad." Gu Qianyan looked at Gu Diheo and his wife with a complicated expression. "That on my way here, I heard that you sold Qianqian to get Mr. Jin's 300 million investment. Is that true? And now she keeps talking about replacing someone. Were you originally planning to me?" "Nonsense." Gu Diheo snapped, cutting Gu Qianyan off. It would have been better if Gu Qianyan hadn't mentioned the 300 million. The moment she did, Gu Diheo was filled with anxiety. He had exhausted all his efforts to get this investment, and now it was finally within reach. But that was because Mr. Jin thought it was Gu Qianyan with him last night. If he found out it wasn't, the 300 million would likely go down the drain. Gu Diheo's mind raced, and he quickly came up with a solution. He had worked so hard for this 300 million. Giving it up was impossible. Actually, Mr. Jin mistook your sister for you. He thought he had forced you. He only agreed to sign this investment agreement as compensation. Gu Diheo's face was grave. "Qianyan, that Mr. Jin is not someone to be trifled with. Mom and Dad can't afford to offend him. We've already received the money. If he finds out later that it wasn't you with him last night, he definitely won't let our family go. So, let's just pretend it was you last night. And from now on, you can continue to serve Mr. Jin, okay?" Gu Qianqian gritted her teeth, hatred churning in her eyes. "You and Mom and Dad have been so good to me. It's time for me to repay you." Gu Qianyan lowered her eyelids, her long lashes hiding the unfathomable meaning in her eyes. "You can arrange things with Mr. Jin. Don't worry, I definitely won't disappoint you." Gu Diheo immediately breathed a huge sigh of relief. "Good girl. Dad knew you were the most sensible," Gu Diheo said lovingly. Listening to him, Gu Qianyan's stomach churned with nausea. It was disgusting. In her past life, it was because of this love that she had walked step by step into a fiery pit. But now, looking at Gu Diheo's love, it was fake and perfunctory. Even a fool could see his insincerity. How could she have trusted them so much before? "Dad, you must have worried a lot about me recently. You've even got white hair." As Gu Qianyan spoke, she reached out and plucked a strand of hair from Gu Diheo's head. Ouch. Gu Diheo cried out in pain. "Did I pull too hard?" "I'm sorry, Dad," Gu Qianyan said with a helpless look. Gu Diheo was about to get angry, but seeing her innocent face, his anger instantly dissipated. "It's nothing. It's good that you know how hard Dad works for you." Gu Diheo cleared his throat. "Don't you have a lipstick commercial to shoot?" "Yang Shui just called to rush you." Hurry up and go. Although Gu Diheo's anger had subsided, Zhang Yumei's had not. Seeing Gu Qianyan's innocent act made her even angrier. She could only find an excuse to send her away. That damn girl has been looking more and more seductive lately. Where did she learn that from? Zhang Yumei said impatiently as soon as Gu Qianyan left. Shut up. What kind of mother talks about her daughter like that? Be nicer to her. Don't let her see through anything, Gu Diheo said irritably. Gu Qianqian impatiently interrupted their argument. Is this the time to talk about this? Haven't you noticed something different about Gu Qianyan? I suspect she's onto us. I suspect she won't go through with sleeping with Mr. Jean. What's there to be afraid of? Even if there's really a problem with her, she might have escaped the first time, but I won't let her run the second time. She can't escape from my grasp, Zhang Yumei sneered. And Gu Qianyan heard all of this. Zhou waited anxiously in the car. After what had just happened, she was really worried about Gu Qianyan meeting that family of three alone. When she saw Gu Qianyan's figure appear, she finally breathed a small sigh of relief. Qiao, are you okay? Gu Qianyan said, I'm fine. She took out the hair she had plucked from Gu Diheo's head and then pulled out one of her own. Take these 2 hairs and secretly get a paternity test for me. Zhou was stunned for a moment. Then her eyes widened in horror. You suspect. Gu Qianyan looked at her. Without speaking, you're right. We should test it. How could a biological father do such beastly things to you? That's not urgent. The most important thing right now is that I need to replace my public-facing agent with you as soon as possible, Gu Qianyan said. Zhang Yumei and Gu Diheo trust Yang Shui a lot. It might be difficult to replace her. Gu Qianyan lowered her eyelids and sneered that it's not up to them. I'm replacing her tonight. When Gu Qianyan arrived at the commercial shoot, her agent, Yang Shui, was already waiting for her in the garage at Jiyu Qianyan. Are you kidding me? Look at the time. You're about to be late. Do you know I just got yelled at by the client because of you? Yes, in the past, this was Gu Qianyan's status in the team. No one respected her, especially this agent, Yang Shui, who used to hit and curse her at will. Only in recent years had it become just cursing without hitting. Communicating with the brand, isn't that your job? You got yelled at for not communicating well, and now you think you're in the right? Gu Qianyan showed no weakness that if you feel this job has wronged you, you can leave immediately. Yang Shui was stunned, looking at Gu Qianyan in disbelief. What did you just say? Yang Shui immediately exploded that Jiyu Qianyan. Have you lost your mind? Watch who you're talking to. If they weren't in a public place, she would have slapped Gu Qianyan across the face. What a bitch, daring to get cocky with me. Of course I know who you are, Gu Qianyan said, walking up to Yang Shui. She leaned in and whispered very softly in her ear, aren't you just my dad's secret little lover? Yang Shui froze on the spot. Gu Qianyan took in her reaction and sneered. Before Yang Shui could react, Gu Qianyan was already walking inside with an imposing aura in her high heels. As soon as the brand staff saw her, they immediately swarmed around her. Meanwhile, in an office on the second floor of the shooting location, Si Bei, the vice president of a luxury goods group, stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window. Watching the real-time footage of the shoot on the screen opposite him, his charming eyes were full of nonchalance, as expected of the innocent pop queen. What a sweet smile. After speaking, he glanced at the person standing next to him. The man was tall and upright, with a face so handsome it seemed God-given. He didn't show much expression, his gaze fixed on the busy crowd on the set, locked onto Gu Qianyan. Si Bei raised an eyebrow and asked, Gong Yi, where were you yesterday? You didn't even answer your phone. Gong Yi showed no reaction, only subconsciously tightening his grip on the diamond earrings in his palm. Brother Gong Yi, look at your little sweetie too. Just then, a man who had been lounging on the sofa suddenly sprang up, threw himself at Gong Yi's feet, and hugged his long legs. I've already bankrupted 3 companies. My dad said if I fail again this time, he's going to marry me off to an African chief's daughter in exchange for a diamond mine. Brother Gong Yi, you have to save me. Yin Chung wailed, Brother, save your little sweetie. Brother. Gong Yi spoke unhurriedly. Hire Gu Qianyan. If you can sign her as a mentor, my video website will heavily promote your show next season. Also, I'll join your show as a contestant. The two were momentarily stunned. They looked at Gong Yi in astonishment. On the other side, the shoot didn't end until the early hours of the morning. Zhou had ordered a late-night snack in advance, and it was delivered right after the shoot ended. When the bill was presented to Yang Shui, her face turned green. Jiyu Qianyan. Afterwards, Gu Qianyan greeted the staff warmly and followed Yang Shui to the dressing room. As soon as they entered, Yang Shui immediately closed and locked the door. Gu Qiaoyan, have you gone crazy today? You just spent over 10,000 of my money. It's my money I'm spending. What are you so anxious about? Gu Qiaoyan retorted nonchalantly. Compared to the money my dad secretly spends on you, what is this? Yang Shui exploded and slapped Gu Qiaoyan across the face. Gu Qiaoyan didn't dodge, taking the hit squarely. Yang Shui, my mom went through a lot with my dad. She treated you like her best friend, but you secretly got together with her husband. She was so good to you. You can't be so heartless. Stop being the other woman. Leave my father. I can give you a lot of money. I'm begging you. Don't hurt my mother. Don't destroy our beautiful, happy family. Gu Qiaoyan clutched her slapped cheek, watching as Yang Shui's initial arrogance vanished. Tears instantly rolled down her face. These words were like daggers to the heart. Suppressing her shame and anger, Yang Shui stared at Gu Qiaoyan and sneered. Gu Qiaoyan, get it straight. It's your dad who's crazy about me. He's the one who can't leave me. Let me tell you the truth. Gu Diheo stopped loving Zhang Yumei a long time ago. She's old and fat. How can she compare to me? I won't let you talk about my mom like that. Break up with my dad now. Immediately, Gu Qiaoyan was instantly furious. Or else I'll expose your affair. Fine, go ahead and expose it. Do it now. Do you have any proof? Who would believe you? Yang Shui raised her hand and arrogantly patted Gu Qiaoyan's cheek a few times. That I am Zhang Yumei's best friend and one of the people she trusts the most. Do you think she'll believe you over me? Gu Qiaoyan thought for a moment, her face gradually turning pale as if she were genuinely frightened by Yang Shui. She slowly lowered her head, trembling all over, reverting to her former timid self. Yang Shui's face was full of mockery. Just then, the makeup artist's voice came from outside. Why is the door locked? Do you know what to say about the mark on your face? Yang Shui asked fiercely, pinching Gu Qiaoyan's chin. I accidentally scraped it myself, Gu Qiaoyan replied. Yang Shui sneered and patted Gu Qiaoyan's cheek again. That I'll settle today's score with you later. Gu Qiaoyan kept her head down and said nothing, looking terrified. Idiot! Yang Shui cursed contemptuously and turned to leave. The door closed again. It seemed Yang Shui was explaining something to the person outside. Gu Qiaoyan pressed her tongue against the inside of her slapped cheek. The timidity on her face vanished instantly. She walked expressionlessly to a corner, reached out, and removed a tiny hidden camera from a plant. Then, Gu Qiaoyan put on sunglasses, a mask, and a baseball cap, covering herself completely. She took the elevator to the garage. Just as the elevator doors were about to close, they were blocked by a large, well-defined hand. Gu Qiaoyan lowered her head and subconsciously stepped to the side. Then, out of the corner of her eye, she saw a pair of long legs and black trousers step in. A scent wafted past Gu Qiaoyan's nose. She paused. Hey, this scent is so familiar. It was as if a flash of risque copyright images sparked in her mind. It's King Kong baby. She hesitated for a moment, then quickly stepped out of the elevator to confirm. Just as she chased him out of the elevator lobby, she saw the tall, imposing figure in a dark black suit get into a phantom. Gu Qiaoyan was stunned for a moment, then breathed a sigh of relief. Wrong person. If King Kong baby could afford a phantom, he wouldn't need to be selling his body. Then, her van pulled up. What took you so long? I've been waiting for half an hour. Yang Shui said impatiently. I thought you had already left. Gu Qiaoyan said sullenly. Didn't something happen to Qian? Zhang Yumei asked me to go take a look. After a pause, Yang Shui sneered. Zhang Yumei said you were the one who set up Gu Qian. It seems it wasn't you. It was probably Qian who wanted to get close to Mr. Jean and took your place temporarily. Then, Gu Qiaoyan started praising her. Yang Shui enjoyed this praise, her expression becoming even more smug and arrogant. It's good that you know I'm smart. Don't try to play any tricks on me in the future. Gu Qiaoyan nodded. Seeing her submissive appearance, Yang Shui's expression grew more mocking and triumphant. The van sped through the night. Not long after, Gu Qiaoyan received a message. Done. She read it with a blank expression, then deleted the message history. When the van arrived at the hospital, Zhang Yumei was already waiting. Seeing her, Yang Shui looked at Gu Qiaoyan with a triumphant expression. See that? See how much she relies on me. After her daughter's accident, she's so eager to see me that she came to pick me up personally. Who do you think she'll believe? You or me? Gu Qiaoyan looked up, her beautiful eyes holding an enigmatic smile. Who knows? Yang Shui opened the car door and got out. Darling, You must have been so scared. I was so busy today, and Gu Qiaoyan was being disobedient, causing me a lot of trouble. But then, with a loud slap, Zhang Yumei struck her across the face. It was exceptionally loud. Yang Shui staggered back 2 steps before regaining her footing. She clutched her cheek, seeing stars. Zhang Yumei lunged forward and grabbed Yang Shui. I treated you like a good sister, provided for you, and you slept with my man. I'm old and ugly, right? You're beautiful, right? Today, I'm going to beat all the implants out of your body. Let's see how beautiful you, a plastic surgery monster, can be. No, you may calm down. Yang Shui was terrified, trying to explain while dodging Zhang Yumei's slaps. Just then, out of the corner of her eye, she caught a glimpse of Gu Qiaoyan sitting in the car, watching her with a playful smile. Yang Shui knew Gu Qiaoyan must have done something. She quickly shouted it was her. Yumei, it was Gu Qiaoyan who framed me. Don't believe her words. She harmed Qian, and now she's trying to harm me. Don't fall for it. Gu Qiaoyan's small face turned pale, and she shook her head in terror that I didn't. Sister Yang, why are you framing me? In the car just now, you said I wasn't capable of it, that it was Qian who willingly climbed into Mr. Jin's bed. How has it become my fault now? I didn't say that. She's lying. I treat Qian like my own daughter. How could I say that about her? Gu Qiaoyan, why are you framing me like this? What are your intentions? Yang Shui cried out. The mother didn't think her daughter was that smart. If it weren't for the fact that someone had been interviewed in that dressing room earlier and left the camera behind, and that person happened to be the mother's friend, after seeing the video, he immediately sent it to the mother. With that, Zhang Yumei slapped Yang Shui several more times. Then, completely enraged, her eyes red, she grabbed Yang Shui's hair, shoved the phone directly in her face, and played a video. This video was none other than what had happened in the dressing room a short while ago. In the end, Yang Shui was beaten to the ground. As Gu Qiaoyan was leaving, she let out a soft laugh. "Oh, this is the trust you were talking about." After watching the video, Zhang Yumei clearly hadn't expected that the timid Gu Qiaoyan, who usually didn't even dare to breathe too loudly, would actually negotiate with Yang Shui to protect her. When did you find out those 2 beasts got together? Zhang Yumei asked. Last time, when I went to Europe for a magazine shoot, I walked in on them in the restroom. I was afraid you'd be heartbroken if you found out, so I went to Sister Yang to persuade her to leave Dad before you discovered it. Gu Qiaoyan spoke like a child who had done something wrong, her voice getting lower and lower. Also, I'm a little worried that after that scene just now, she might retaliate against me while she's still my agent. Zhang Yumei said hurriedly, we have to change agents immediately. Mom, have you thought about who to replace her with? Gu Qiaoyan asked. How about Zhozhou? She's young and honest, not too cunning. You'll be able to manage her, Gu Qiaoyan suggested quietly. Zhang Yumei thought for a moment. In her eyes, Zhozhou was just a cheap laborer fresh out of college, posing no real threat. We'll use her temporarily to replace that bitch. I'll find you a new agent tomorrow. It's enough that you know Mom is good to you and that it's not easy for me. In the future, if your dad and I have a falling out and get a divorce, you know who you should follow, right? Zhang Yumei held Gu Qiaoyan's hand, showing an unprecedented amount of affection. If things went badly, they might have a complete falling out. So she had to secure Gu Qiaoyan this money tree. Despite the late hour, Zhozhou still received several calls from partners. She was still a bit dazed. Just like that, the agent has changed. Gu Qiaoyan said, sitting in the passenger seat, slowly eating fried chicken. But Zhozhou said heartlessly, stop eating. You've already had 2 pieces. You'll get fat. I don't have to work for the next few days. It's fine to indulge a little. Gu Qiaoyan mumbled while eating. This isn't over yet. Yang Shui is just the beginning. The main event is next. The next day, the news that Gu Qiaoyan was disfigured reached her parents' ears. Zhozhou instantly understood. This was what Gu Qiaoyan meant when she said she wouldn't have work for the next few days. When Gu Diheo heard disfigured, he felt like the sky was falling. At that moment, Dr. Chun arrived. The swelling is from a metal allergy, plus the person who hit her was too heavy-handed. Now why it's like this? Hearing that it wasn't permanent disfigurement, Gu Diheo and his wife breathed a sigh of relief, but she only got slapped once. How did she get a metal allergy? Gu Diheo asked, confused. Go ask the person who hit her. How would I know? The doctor, clearly unable to stand seeing Gu Qiaoyan beaten like this, answered irritably. Inside, Zhang Yumei pointed at Gu Qiaoyan's face and roared at Gu Diheo, look at the good work your little mistress has done. Gu Diheo looked deeply at Gu Qiaoyan. She looked to be in a very poor mental state. He asked his mother to lower her voice and talk outside. Inside, Zhou looked closely at Gu Qianyan's face and then whispered, "What female star is as ruthless as you? What if you were really disfigured?" "I know what I'm doing," Gu Qianyan said softly. After all, she was a star. Unless absolutely necessary, she wouldn't risk harming her own face. She now had to clear some of her schedule to rearrange her upcoming work. She also needed to give Zhou time to build a new team. Most importantly, during this time, she had to act decisively and deal a heavy blow to her black-hearted parents' family. A blow so heavy that they wouldn't be able to cause her trouble for a long time. As soon as she finished speaking, her phone vibrated. Zhou said, "It's that talent show again. I've already rejected them clearly twice. A boy band talent show is so old-fashioned." Zhou shook her head. "It says it's airing on Huanying next quarter. I think we should just reject it." Produced by Huanying? Gu Qianyan was shocked. She said decisively, "This will be a hit. Not only will it be a hit, but this batch of contestants will produce a top-tier star and several energetic artists who will nourish half the entertainment industry." Among them were two artists Zhou would later manage, as well as the scumbag Yu Wei who betrayed her in her past life. Zhou looked at Gu Qianyan blankly. Gu Qianyan thought for a moment and said, "Since I'm determined to get rid of them, it's also time to overturn the innocent pop queen persona. This variety show is a perfect opportunity, but I have a few small conditions." Then, Zhou took the call. She said she can't be an idol mentor. She wants to participate in the recording as a producer. There's one more condition. When signing the contract, you have to pay us 70% of the fee up front. If you can accept these two conditions, we can sign immediately, Zhou said, bracing herself. But the other side agreed without hesitation. Yin Changsheng didn't know that his overexcitement had already aroused the suspicion of the human peach. After hanging up, he immediately went to Gong Yi gleefully. "Young Master Gong, I plucked the human peach for you. Your brother spent 3 times the price to get this peach for you. Don't forget what you promised your brother." "Human peach?" Gong Yi asked, puzzled. "That's what her fans call her," Yin Chengxing explained. On the other side, Zhou and Gu Qianyan felt that something was strange. Such outrageous demands, and the other party agreed to all of them. However, Gu Qianyan didn't think much of it. She just reminded her to keep the contract confidential and not let Zhang Yumei know. Outside the room, the couple was arguing nonstop. Zhang Yumei's eyes were wide with anger, and she was about to continue her tirade when Gu Diheo's phone rang again. They both thought it was Yang Shui calling again. Gu Diheo was about to hang up without looking. Fortunately, Zhang Yumei's sharp eyes stopped Gu Diheo. "Don't hang up, it's Mr. Jin." Gu Diheo took a closer look. It was indeed Mr. Jin's call. He broke out in a cold sweat. Why is he calling? Could he have found something out? Just then, Gu Qianyan walked out of the room. Zhang Yumei started crying. Mr. Jin just called. He said he misses you badly, so he wants us to arrange another meeting the day after tomorrow. With your face injured like this, if he sees you, the 300 million will definitely be gone. Gu Qianyan watched Zhang Yumei cry and wail, her heart turning ice cold. It's not like that fat pig doesn't have other women. Can't he just find someone else to let off some steam? Gu Diheo said angrily, "You have the nerve to say that. If it weren't for your little mistress, would her face be like this? Would we be in such a hurry?" Zhang Yumei cursed. "You useless thing, you only make things worse." "Mom, Dad, don't argue. There's still a way to solve this." Gu Qianyan coaxed softly. "What way?" Gu Diheo and his wife immediately looked at Gu Qianyan, their eyes suddenly brightening. Gu Qianyan lowered her head and said helplessly in a low voice, "I was reading a script before and saw the male and female leads playing a kind of game. There's a way to cover the face with props. Or I could just tell Mr. Jin that I want to play something different with him. I just don't know if he'd be willing." Gu Diheo was stunned for a moment, then clapped his hands in amazement. "Brilliant. Why didn't I think of that? That fat pig Mr. Jin loves these kinds of tricks. If you suggest it, he'll be 1,000,000% willing. Since this is settled, you should rest well for the next 2 days. Keep your spirits up. Don't run around." As Zhang Yumei spoke, she glanced at Gu Diheo, then waved at Gu Qianyan to go back to your room and rest. After waking up, Gu Qianyan heard the commotion downstairs. She limped as she started to go downstairs. Halfway down, she heard the conversation between Gu Qianyan and her parents. Seeing her parents breathe a sigh of relief and look very happy, Gu Qianyan asked sourly, "Aren't you celebrating a bit too early?" She hasn't even gotten into Mr. Jin's bed yet. What if she runs away again like last time? There's always a what if. Let's have a backup plan, Gu Qianqian said gravely. What kind of backup plan? Gu Diheo asked. Knock her out with an anesthetic beforehand. After confirming it's her, hand her over to Mr. Jin's people personally. That way, no matter what she tries, she can't possibly run away again. Gu Qianyan also heard this. She immediately sent a message to Zhou that they're about to make their move. Go and help me take care of a few things. The weather is getting cold. It's time to send them a big gift. Perhaps because of the big commotion, Gu Diheo and his wife went to bed particularly early tonight, before 9 o'clock. Snores could be heard from their respective rooms. At this time, a figure entered the house and picked up a mobile phone. Then, imitating Gu Qianyan's tearful voice, the person said, Yang Shui just called me again. She said if she doesn't see you and Mom in an hour, she'll expose all the illegal things you've done and go down with you. What? Zhang Yumei exclaimed. Has that woman gone mad? Gu Diheo and his wife then left the house, hastily instructing Gu Qianyan, Qiao, you and your sister stay at home. Mom, and I will be back soon. A moment after the car drove away, Gu Qianyan turned around. She walked slowly and lightly up the stairs. Gu Diheo and his wife were only thinking about whether they could successfully deliver her to Mr. Jin to be toyed with tomorrow. But they didn't notice that after lunch, Gu Qianqian had already fallen into the trap upstairs. Gu Qianqian lay exhausted on the bed. After lunch, she had felt very tired and had been lying in bed half asleep all afternoon. She had just woken up and was resting against the pillow with her eyes closed. Suddenly, the door creaked open. In this house, Gu Qianyan was not allowed to go to the second floor. She actually dared to come up so brazenly and even enter her room. Gu Qianqian's anger flared up instantly. Bitch, we'll let you into my room. Get out. Gu Qianqian grabbed the water glass from the bedside table and threw it directly at Gu Qianyan. Gu Qianyan dodged lightly, and the glass shattered against the door. This house was bought with my money. I can go wherever I want, Gu Qianyan said slowly. Mom? Dad? Gu Qianqian shouted as she threw off the covers to get out of bed. But as soon as she stood up, a wave of dizziness washed over her, and she fell back onto the bed. They went out, Gu Qianyan said, looking down at Gu Qianqian. I knew it. You don't dare show your true colors in front of them. You only dare to act tough in front of me. What, you think I'm young and easy to bully, is that it? Gu Qianqian gritted her teeth, forced herself to stand up, and raised her hand to slap Gu Qianyan. Gu Qianyan easily caught her wrist and raised an eyebrow with a smile. Don't be in such a hurry. Your parents won't be able to escape either. I'll bully all of you one by one to the very end. Looking at Gu Qianqian suddenly felt a pang of fear. Usually, she was the one who bullied Gu Qianyan. Gu Qianyan was always afraid of her. Now, she was suddenly afraid of Gu Qianyan. Gu Qianqian instantly felt she had lost face. Gu Qianyan looked at her and suddenly started laughing. Her laugh was beautiful, but it still sent shivers down Gu Qianqian's spine. Gu Qianyan flung her hand away, and Gu Qianqian fell onto the bed. Gu Qianyan walked to Gu Qianqian's drawer and pulled it open. Inside were 4 neatly arranged boxes of medicine. Gu Qianyan took out a box of medicine from the drawer, fiddled with it for a moment, and injected the drug into her sister's body. After she was done, she went downstairs while taking out her phone from her pocket and quickly sending a pre-written message to Mr. Jin. Then she returned to her room, grabbed her things, and walked straight to the main door. Zhou grabbed Gu Qianyan's things, and they sped off. On the other side, after the parents had dealt with their business and spent some effort on Yang Shui, they finally remembered about Mr. Jin. They rushed home. Pushing open the door, they searched frantically, but, as expected, couldn't find Gu Qianyan. Gu Diheo thought Gu Qianyan had simply run away, but he never expected that something even more devastating, infuriating, and unexpected was waiting for him. Just then, Mr. Jin's call came. He was on his way. The father answered Mr. Jin's call. A voice came from the other end. I'll be there in 10 minutes. Make sure everything is ready. Hearing this, the mother's face filled with terror. She stammered, what? 10 minutes? What are we going to do? The family of 3 was thrown into a panic at a complete loss. The mother couldn't help but complain. That detestable girl, Gu Qianyan. Not only did she scheme to make us fight with Yang Shui, she also tricked us into leaving so she could run away. But with Mr. Jin about to arrive, if he didn't see Gu Qianyan, he would surely be furious. At that point, their family would face dire consequences, perhaps even total ruin. Just then, the father had an idea. His gaze turned to his biological daughter, Gu Qianqian, a ruthless glint in his eyes. He said to her, Qianqian, Gu Qianyan just wants to see our family offend Mr. Jean, to have Mr. Jean cut off her livelihood. We can't let her scheme succeed. For our family, you'll have to suffer a little again. Anyway, you've already had contact with Mr. Jean once. One more time won't make much of a difference. After speaking, the father tightly gripped his daughter's wrist. He took a syringe from the drawer and, without hesitation, plunged it into Gu Qianqian. He soothed her, "Good girl, don't worry. After this is over, Dad will definitely capture Gu Qianyan and let you do whatever you want with her." Gu Qianqian cried out, "No," but her body was gradually losing strength, and her resistance was futile. Seeing this, the mother also hurried over to help. Together, they injected the needle into Gu Qianqian's body. Before long, Gu Qianqian passed out. The father personally put a mask on her, took out some kinky props, and even carefully scattered rose petals. As he worked, he secretly felt relieved. Good thing there's a mask to cover her face, otherwise we'd be exposed. After everything was ready, the two of them hurried downstairs to greet Mr. Jean. As soon as the door opened, their faces were immediately filled with ingratiating smiles. The father said respectfully, "Mr. Jean, everything is ready. Please come in." The mother stood behind him, looking nervous, whispering, "What are we going to do now?" The father gritted his teeth and secretly vowed that he must find a way to find that girl. He absolutely couldn't let it go. On the other side, Zhou had already prepared a new apartment for Gu Qianyan. The security there was excellent, and many celebrities chose to live there. Gu Qianyan said gratefully to Zhou, "Zhou, thank you for your hard work." Zhou replied, "It was no trouble. Your timing was perfect. In the past few days, I've managed to reset all the bank cards and studio account passwords. They don't have a single card now. They'll never be able to use and exploit you again. But now that you've left like this, what do you think their reaction will be?" Gu Qianyan's lips curled into a faint smile. She said, "They'll probably have to make a difficult choice between the 300 million investment and their daughter." Then she said to Zhou, "Tomorrow morning, I'm going to Dr. Chen's to check on my wound. Half an hour beforehand, leak my whereabouts." Zhou was very surprised and looked puzzled. "Shouldn't we be trying to hide right now? Why would we voluntarily reveal your location?" Gu Qianyan gently patted Zhou's shoulder and explained with a smile, "What's the fun in hiding? Tomorrow, just wait and watch a good show. Watch how I make a beautiful comeback." The next day, Gu Qianyan arrived at the hospital. She was talking cordially with Dr. Chun, saying gratefully, "Dr. Chun, thank you for always taking care of me. You were the one who treated my injuries before." However, just at that moment, her parents rushed over, shouting Gu Qianyan's name. Seeing them, Gu Qianyan immediately put on a pitiful act, tightly hugging Dr. Chen's arm and crying for help. "Dr. Chun, save me." As soon as Gu Qianyan saw the two of them, she hid behind Dr. Chun in terror, her body trembling. "I have nothing to do with you anymore. You can have the house and the car. I don't ask for anything. Just let me go," Gu Qianyan said with a sob. Gu Diheo was stunned for a moment, then roared, "Let you go? We'll talk about it after you're dead. Well, I still have some patience. Get over here now. Don't go too far." Dr. Chen scolded, "This is us disciplining our daughter. What's it to you?" Zhang Yumei lost her patience and shouted as she tried to grab Gu Qianyan. Dr. Chen raised his hand to block her, and the back of his hand was instantly scratched by Zhang Yumei, drawing blood. Seeing this, Gu Qianyan asked anxiously, "Dr. Chun, are you okay?" True, Dr. Chun was a skilled physician and quite well known locally. Usually, all his patients treated him with respect. Being scratched by Zhang Yumei, he was instantly enraged. He shouted, "Security! Where's security? Call the police. Call the police immediately. Arrest these two people." "Dr. Chun, don't," Gu Qianyan began, trying to plead for them. "Miss Gu, since you've already decided to break away from these two, don't be soft-hearted towards them anymore," Dr. Chen said, looking disappointed that I know. "I'll talk to them one last time." Gu Qianyan looked at Gu Diheo and his wife that don't shout in front of Dr. Chun. He's a good person. If you have something to say, let's go over there and say it. Let's clear everything up today. With that, Gu Qianyan walked directly to a quiet corner behind the clinic. Dr. Chen looked worried. Gu Diheo and his wife sneered at him and hurried after her. "Jiyu Qianyan, you're quite the actress. You think finding some low-life doctor to protect you will make you free?" Zhang Yumei said, grinding her teeth. "By my calculations, things should be wrapping up on Qianqian's end, right? Instead of checking if she's dead or alive, what's the use of wasting your breath on me?" Gu Qianyan's demeanor changed from her earlier fragility. Her eyes, in words now full of mockery. "Bitch, you dare say that," Zhang Yumei said, about to strike. Gu Diheo held her back. "Why are you so angry? Weren't you the ones who sent Gu Qianqian to be toyed with by Mr. Jean last night?" Gu Qianqian's face was full of scorn. "Who would have thought you'd be so shameless for money, not even sparing your own daughter?" Gu Diheo's face was flushed red with anger. He suppressed the urge to strangle Gu Qianyan. Gu Qianyan. I'll say this one last time. Come back with me immediately. Don't force me to use extreme measures. What extreme measures do you want to use? What extreme measures can you use? Those thugs you hang out with every day, or Mr. Jean? Gu Qianyan sneered, looking as if she didn't take Gu Diheo seriously at all. Do you dare to go to Mr. Jean? Do you dare to let him know you used a fake Gu Qianyan to cheat him out of 300 million? Gu Diheo, stop bluffing in front of me. I'm not scared at all. With this time, you'd be better off going home and thinking about how much longer you can use Gu Qianqian to deceive Mr. Jean. Gu Diheo was a very irritable and conceited person. Gu Qianyan knew every one of his triggers. Every word she just said had trampled fiercely on Gu Diheo's pride. Just as Gu Qianyan turned around, the enraged Gu Diheo yanked her back and gave her a vicious slap. Gu Qianyan cried out and was instantly knocked to the ground. After being a pop queen for a few years, you've really forgotten your place, haven't you? Daring to shout at me. Are you tired of living? Gu Diheo roared, then kicked Gu Qianyan. Honey, don't waste your breath on her. Let's drag her home and deal with her properly, Zhang Yumei said viciously. Gu Diheo gritted his teeth and was about to grab Gu Qianyan's hair to drag her up. Before he could touch Gu Qianyan, Zhou's sharp cry suddenly rang out. Gu Diheo and his wife subconsciously turned around and saw Zhou running towards them with several police officers. Zhou rushed forward, pushed aside the still-dazed Gu Diheo, and shielded Gu Qianyan with her body. She said anxiously, "Gu Diheo, are you even human? It's bad enough you abuse her at home, but now her face hasn't even healed, and you dare to hit her in public? Officer, please save Qiao Qiao. If she's taken away by this black-hearted couple today, who knows what terrible things await her." On the other side, Dr. Chun, who had heard the commotion, also ran over with security guards. Gu Diheo yelled arrogantly, "Little bitch, stop acting. I only slapped her once and kicked her once. She won't die." The arriving police officer, with a stern face, reprimanded the arrogant Gu Diheo and his wife. Just then, Zhou let out a heart-wrenching scream. Everyone's attention turned. Dr. Chun, Qiao Qiao doesn't seem to be breathing. A quick-witted police officer nearby immediately restrained Gu Diheo. Dr. Chun also quickly took charge of Gu Qianyan. Around the same time, the hashtag Gu Qianyan beaten shot to the top of the trending lists on all major platforms. The content caused an uproar across the internet. Zhang Yumei screamed in anger, and Gu Diheo's face turned deathly pale. He no longer had the imposing air he had when he beat Gu Qianyan in the morning. She's dead set on rebelling now. Let's go back quickly, get her cards and passbooks, and transfer all the money and investments in her name to our own. However, soon, bad news fell like a boulder from the sky. The wretched couple hurried home, only to be pinned down by Mr. Jean as soon as they walked in the door. Zhang Yumei cried out. The couple had been played for fools by Gu Qianyan, running around in circles, and had completely forgotten about this matter at home. They saw Gu Qianqian, bruised and swollen, covered in welts, almost naked and tied with ropes to a chair like an animal. Gu Diheo and his wife looked towards the sound, their hearts pounding in terror. They saw the fat-headed Mr. Jean, every fold of flesh on his face highlighting his fury to Gu Diheo. I gave you face and spent 300 million to buy Gu Qianyan. You must have the heart of a bear and the guts of a leopard to dare to trick me with an imposter. Mr. Jean roared. He had clearly discovered that the person he slept with last night was not Gu Qianyan at all. In a rage, Mr. Jean had beaten the imposter senseless, then tied her up and threw her in the living room, waiting for Gu Diheo to return MR. Jean, there's a misunderstanding. Let me explain. Gu Diheo was so scared he nearly wet his pants, groveling on the floor and speaking urgently. Explain? How do you want to explain? Do you know how much face I've lost because of this? Without another word, Mr. Jean grabbed a nearby table lamp and smashed it directly at Gu Diheo. Gu Diheo couldn't even dodge, and his head was split open. This is all Gu Qianyan's doing. She hates us for not treating her well, so she deliberately pretended to like you. Hemi set it up and then took the opportunity to run away when we weren't looking. Her sister took her place just so you would misunderstand and think we were tricking you. She wants to use your hand to get rid of our family. Mr. Jean, you're a smart man. Think about it carefully. With your status, how would I dare to deceive you? Gu Diheo cried out hoarsely. Mr. Jean gritted his teeth, his expression softening slightly. Thinking about it, it seemed Gu Diheo really didn't have a reason or the guts to do such a thing. Mr. Jean, what my husband said is true. Have you seen the news online today? This is her revenge on us. We were even taken to the police station before we came back, and we're almost locked up. Jean Yume also cried out. I suppose you don't have the guts to trick me, Mr. Jean said with a cold smile. Jean Yume hated Gu Qianyan to the bone. She didn't care what would happen to her family next. All she could think was that even if she died, she had to drag Gu Qianyan down with her. She swallowed hard, then cried to Mr. Jean, this morning, we originally wanted to bring her back to give you an explanation. But who would have thought? Gu Qianyan started saying a lot of nasty things. She insulted you, saying you were a toad lusting after a swan's flesh, that you were not worthy of her at all. My husband got so angry after hearing that. That's why he hit her. A toad lusting after a swan's flesh. Mr. Jin's fat hands slowly clenched into fists. The flesh on his face twitched, and his eyes became even more sinister and terrifying. Yes, and she said many other nasty things that I don't dare repeat in front of you. Zhang Yume said, wiping her tears, I never thought she was that kind of person, using you to get rid of our family on one hand, while looking down on you on the other. Shut up. Mr. Jean was extremely conscious of his pride. He knew he wasn't good-looking and had been rejected by women a lot when he was poor. After getting rich, he had enough confidence to specifically seek out unattainable women to play with. Saying I'm a toad, lusting after a swan's flesh? I'll pluck all the feathers off this swan right now and see what she has to be proud of. After Mr. Jean finished speaking, he furiously kicked over the coffee table in front of him. On the other side, after signing Gu Qianyan, Yin Chengcheng was as excited as if he'd been injected with chicken blood. His phone vibrated endlessly against his ear. Okay, her image has really collapsed. Gu Qianyan was hospitalized due to domestic violence. I heard she's still unconscious, and they're trying to save her. I saw the video of her being abused. It looks like she was disfigured too, the assistant on the other end of the phone said in horror. Yin Chengcheng sobered up instantly. What a beast. Yin Chengcheng was a playboy who cherished beautiful women. He couldn't stand seeing a young woman being beaten like that and immediately exploded. He then immediately forwarded the video to Gong Yi and sent a message. Gu Qianyan was hospitalized after being beaten by her dad. Gong Yi immediately replied, hospital entrance in 5 minutes. When the two arrived in front of the hospital room, they lured Jojo away, and Gong Yi successfully entered the room. He saw Gu Qianyan's small face, bruised and swollen. Just as Gong Yi was leaving, Gu Qianyan woke up. Suddenly, she was in a daze. A blurry image vaguely appeared in her mind. She was lying on a hospital bed, and a tall man was standing beside her, silhouetted against the light. After coming out, Gong Yi decided to investigate this matter thoroughly. Inside the hospital room, Jojo rushed in again, shouting, this is bad. Zhang Yume is up to something. It turned out Zhang Yume had posted a new video, tearfully accusing Gu Qianyan of being heartless. She talked about how well they had treated her since she was a child, how they had raised her, only for her to frame them for money, bully her sister, and beat her sister black and blue. Of course, the battered sister also made a brief appearance. The bruised and swollen Gu Qianyan lay on the hospital bed. Not a single patch of her visible skin was unscathed. As soon as this video was released, it was like another bomb dropped into a lake, causing a massive explosion. In an instant, the direction of public opinion online changed dramatically. But Gu Qianyan had no reaction. She just looked out the window at the sunny day and said unhurriedly, they're about to be proven wrong. A moment later, Gu Qianyan appeared at the entrance of the police station in a wheelchair, accepting interviews from numerous media outlets. After leaving the hospital, Gu Qianyan went straight to the police station. This move greatly shocked the reporters and paparazzi following her. About 10 minutes later, Gu Qianyan finally came out of the police station. This time, she didn't avoid everyone's gaze as she had before. First of all, I'm very sorry. My family's affairs these past 2 days have caused a lot of trouble for everyone, Gu Qianyan said after a slight bow. This afternoon, my mother posted a video on social media accusing me of violently harming my sister. First, I want to deny her accusation. Second, I am very scared and confused as to why my sister was injured so badly. So, after seeing the video, I immediately rushed to the police station and formally filed a police report as the victim's older sister. As soon as she said this, the entire crowd was in an uproar. Previously, everyone had been speculating, wondering why Gu Qianyan hadn't come out to explain. No one expected her to make such a big move quietly and choose to call the police directly. Qianyan, regarding the matters between you and your parents, do you have anything to say? A reporter immediately asked. I'm sorry, we won't be responding to this matter for the time being. Everyone has worked hard these past few days. Next, Xiao Xiao will go home to continue recovering. The police have already opened a case regarding Xiao Xiao's sister's matter. Let's all wait for the investigation results. After Zhozhou finished speaking, she pushed Gu Qianyan into the car. Inside the van, Zhozhou was still marveling at Gu Qianyan's beautiful counterattack. That black-hearted couple probably never would have imagined in a million years that you would choose to call the police directly. Gu Qianyan didn't speak, just closed her eyes to rest for a moment. Then she asked, have the paternity test results come out yet? Oh my God, these past few days have been like a war. I completely forgot about it. Zhozhou slapped her forehead that I've received a lot of packages these 2 days. It should have arrived. Gu Qianyan nodded, her gaze turning to the window. Just as Zhozhou had estimated, after Gu Diheo's family of 3 watched the video, they were all stunned. How dare she? Zhang Yumei was so angry, she clenched her fists tightly, her nails nearly digging into her palms and drawing blood. Qianqian ended up like this because of her. Is she really not afraid that I'll take her down with me? As soon as Zhang Yumei finished speaking, Gu Diheo stood up and gave her a resounding slap. You still dare to talk? It's all because you're stupid listening to that garbage PR advice. Take her down with you? How are you going to take her down with you? Gu Diheo pointed at Zhang Yumei's nose and cursed loudly. But Zhang Yumei was still relentless, clearly determined to fight to the bitter end. She thought it over and over, still feeling extremely unwilling to give up. Honey, I can't swallow this. If all else fails, let's just hire a hitman and get rid of Gu Qianyan. No way. That old lecher Mr. Jean is clearly still interested in Gu Qianyan. If she dies, what about my 300 million? Gu Diheo immediately rejected this crazy idea. But we can't say this and we can't do that. What are we going to do if the police come knocking? Zhang Yumei asked in a panic. Gu Diheo lowered his eyelids, thought for a long time, and then slowly said, You're the one who caused this mess. You'll have to be the one to take the fall. Me? Zhang Yumei's face stiffened. In the end, Zhang Yumei actually chose to turn herself in, claiming that she was the one who beat Gu Qianqian. But Gu Qianqian's injury report showed traces of S&M. Now the truth was out. It's just that they didn't know that everything behind the scenes had progressed so smoothly thanks to the help of that young master working in the shadows. The mother originally thought that by stepping forward to clarify and apologize, the matter would be over. But unexpectedly, another bombshell dropped without warning. The investigation ultimately found traces of S&M on Gu Qianqian. Furthermore, a series of scandals involving Gu Qianqian from the past few years, which had not been widely circulated, were also exposed. Things like drunk driving, unprovoked assaults in bars, bullying poor students, and so on. Each and every one was an appalling and malicious act. Zhang Yumei was also placed under administrative detention for spreading rumors and disturbing public order. Zhozhou said excitedly from his side, to get Mr. Jean out of this mess, Gu Diheo really went all out. His wife was locked up for spreading rumors, and his daughter's ugly past was completely exposed. A cold smile touched Gu Qianyan's lips, and she said in an icy tone, He didn't disappoint my expectations at all. After this, no matter what they say about me to the public, probably no one will believe them. As she spoke, Zhozhou stood at the dining table with a document, her expression grim. She then handed the report to Gu Qianyan. Gu Qianyan took it with a blank expression. She pulled it out to look. When she saw the words, the sample is not the biological father of the sample. A sharp, piercing pain shot through her temples. You're not my parents' daughter at all. They abducted you from the mountains. Your real parents found out, so they just killed them and bought you from village. I wonder how they felt watching you for all these years, working your heart out, selling yourself to make money for your enemies. In her past life, Gu Qianqian's sinister smile and piercing voice replayed in Gu Qianyan's mind like a nightmare. Anger and hatred, in that instant, were like a surging tide, threatening to swallow her whole. The next second, Gu Qianyan grabbed the crystal glass from the dining table and smashed it forcefully onto the ground. The glass instantly shattered into pieces. Zhou Zhou flinched in fright, but Gu Qianyan remained immersed in her anger, unable to pull herself out. She hated how foolish she had been in her previous life, blinded by so-called family affection, which caused her to suffer so much pain and torment. At this moment, Gu Qianyan's heart felt as if it were being viciously twisted by a knife, dripping with blood and in endless, severe pain. Zhou Zhou used this incident to write a press release to respond to the matter between Gu Diheo's couple and me. Gu Qianyan clenched her fists tightly, her eyes filled with determination. The press release must state that Gu Diheo and his wife were formerly human traffickers. I was the child they stole, preparing to sell me. Before I was sold, I was coincidentally spotted by an advertiser. They saw potential for profit, so they kept me by their side as a money tree. Gu Diheo, Zhang Yume, Gu Qianqian, just you wait to go to hell. Following this, the hashtag Jinghao Gu Qianyan lawyer's statement shot to the top of the trending list and firmly occupied a front row position. Looking at the key points of the statement, Gu Diheo is not Gu Qianyan's biological father. In view of the couple's long-term deceptive behavior and numerous malicious acts, she is hereby severing her father-daughter and mother-daughter relationships with him and Zhang Yume. In addition, Gu Qianyan's side also cleanly attached a screenshot of a paternity test, making everything more convincing. Zhou Zhou updated with a long article, detailing the entire process of how Gu Qianyan discovered the secret of her birth, which was not mentioned in the lawyer's letter. After seeing the news, Gu Diheo said nothing and went up to give Gu Qianqian a harsh slap across the face. Gu Qianqian was stunned by the blow. After coming to her senses, she began to shout hysterically. Gu Qianyan clearly said it was you. What are you still trying to argue? Your mother and I have spoiled you and doted on you since you were little. How do we end up raising a scourge like you? Gu Qianyan, are you her dog? You go wherever she tells you to go. You didn't go looking for Yang Shui to beat her up, did you? Gu Qianqian gave a cold laugh. Her face was covered in injuries, making the laugh appear particularly sinister. Gu Diheo's face turned deathly pale, and he stood there for a long time, unable to recover. Gu Qianqian chuckled. Gu Diheo, haven't you realized it yet? You're just a tool for Gu Qianyan. She has grasped your weakness and brought things to this point today. Gu Diheo's expression became dazed. He wanted to deny it, but upon careful thought, it seemed the truth was just as Gu Qianqian had said. Which of the pits he had fallen into now had he not dug with his own hands? That bitch Gu Qianyan. Gu Diheo stomped his feet in anger. I'm going to buy negative trending topics about her right now. It would be a waste not to use those negative press releases that Yang Shui wrote. If she won't let me have it easy, I'll make sure she can't clear her name either. However, after Gu Diheo went through the trouble of grinding his teeth and trying, he found that there were no negative press releases to be found. The few marketing accounts that were originally prepared to publish the releases had, at some unknown time, withdrawn them all. Moreover, they were wiped clean from the entire internet, leaving not a single trace behind. Gu Diheo was suddenly a loss, completely out of ideas. I was wondering why Gu Qianyan's methods suddenly became so ruthless and her actions so arrogant. It turns out she's found capital to back her up. As Gu Qianqian spoke, she clenched her fists tightly, her eyes filled with hatred. Call President Jin. I have something to say to him, Gu Qianqian said viciously. Next, President Jin, filled with hatred, was about to make his entrance. Xiao Xiao went with Zhou Zhou to find President Jin. Zhou Zhou's heart was uneasy. He felt that the man had ill intentions and that trouble would likely occur if they went. But to his surprise, Qianyan was very calm. She even said, It's precisely because he has ill intentions that I must go. Gu Diheo and Gu Qianqian want to use President Jean to deal with me, but that depends on whether President Jean is willing. As she spoke, she quickly reassured Zhou Zhou, telling him not to worry. She also revealed that she had already called many reporters over, thinking they wouldn't dare to easily lay a hand on her. Just as Qianyan was about to get out of the car, Zhou Zhou resolutely expressed that he wanted to accompany her, saying with a determined face, "Since danger is unavoidable, let's face it together." Hearing this, Qianyan's eyes welled up with tears, and she said with emotion, "Okay." The two figures were seen walking slowly into the clubhouse. All the reporters waiting outside instantly aimed their cameras at them in unison. At this moment, a pot-bellied President Jean walked out from inside, followed by several burly men. President Jean stood before the window. Looking at the swarm of reporters outside, his face turned very grim. "Miss Gu, what a grand entrance." President Jean sneered, looking at Gu Qianyan with unfriendly eyes. "Do you think I won't dare to touch you just because you called these reporters?" President Jean is a smart man. "I can't think of any reason for you to harm me." Gu Qianyan was not flustered at all, saying with a smile, "Tell me about it. What stories did Gu Diheo and Gu Qianqian spin in front of you to make you come deal with me?" President Jean frowned. "Your father took 300 million from me and sold you to me, yet you people used a fake to impersonate you. Isn't that reason enough for me to harm you?" Gu Qianyan looked at him and said calmly, "President Jean, Gu Diheo is not my father. He's just a human trafficker. He cheated you out of 300 million. You should be settling the score with him." President Jean gritted his teeth, pulled out a dagger from somewhere, and slowly walked up to Gu Qianyan. Then, the cold dagger was pressed against Gu Qianyan's face. "Don't think you can fob me off with your family's messy affairs. I heard you were unwilling to climb into my bed because you've already climbed into the bed of another backer, huh?" Gu Qianyan still looked at President Jean calmly. She said unhurriedly, "Mr. Jean, if I were you, I would spend less effort listening to things others say to provoke you. Get your 300 million back, find someone willing to play with you, and don't provoke someone who can attract nationwide attention with any slight movement." After hearing this, President Jin's gaze became even more discerning. Gu Qianyan, however, unhurriedly raised her hand and gently pushed the dagger away with her delicate fingertips. Then she walked to the window and continued. "Take today, for example. I am so weak, you can of course do whatever you want of me. Swallowing me whole would be no problem. But have you thought about it? If I don't walk out of here, or if I leave here broken, and it's captured by even one camera, the consequences would be unimaginable. You dare to plot against me." President Jean was stunned for a moment, then flew into a rage, lunging forward and grabbing Gu Qianyan's neck. Gu Qianyan didn't struggle, just let President Jean choke her. A man like President Jean, who had been in the underworld for many years, knew very well what kind of person was the most terrifying in this world. The vicious and wicked were not scary, nor were the treacherous villains. The upright and incorruptible were also not scary. What was scary were those who were not even afraid of death. Slowly, President Jean released his hand. Gu Qianyan's eyes were red, but said with a firm tone, "But if you insist on forcing me into a dead end, I won't just sit back and wait for death. If we're going down, we're all going down together." President Jean was holding back a fire in his heart, but he had to admit that what Gu Qianyan said was right. President Jin's expression turned gloomy again. Outside the door, Gu Qianqian, who had expected Gu Qianyan to be tortured by President Jean and die here, was still chuckling. Who knew that in the next second, she would see Gu Qianyan walk out completely unscathed. Moreover, the two of them seemed to be having a pleasant conversation. Gu Qianqian looked into Gu Qianyan's eyes and felt as if she were being entangled by a cold, venomous snake. Fear spread rapidly from the bottom of her heart to her limbs. Now, Gu Qianqian had fallen into President Jin's hands again. "Gu Qianyan, Gu Qianqian." A shrill voice sounded briefly from behind, followed by the sound of a door closing. Those who understood knew Gu Qianqian was done for. Just as Gu Qianyan was about to leave and was nearing the elevator, a woman's shrill scream came from behind. Gu Qianyan subconsciously turned her head and saw a woman with disheveled hair and messy clothes run out of a private room behind her. But just as she reached the doorway, she was grabbed by the hair by a shirtless man who chased out of the room and dragged back in. She was still shouting for help. The woman saw Gu Qianyan and screamed at her with a look of despair. "Lao Qian, you're no good. How could you let her run away while you were having fun? The moment the private room door closed, the voices of other men and the laughter of at least 3 people could be heard from inside. Once the door was shut, the woman's cries and the men's laughter disappeared simultaneously, as if the recent clamor had just been a nightmare. But the oppressive atmosphere lingering in the air was incredibly real. Gu Qianyan's face turned pale, and her breathing became difficult. She was all too familiar with one of the voices from the private room just now. It belonged to someone Gu Diheo had also sold her to once. Chow, let's go. Zhou's face was also extremely pale. He knew in his heart that they couldn't meddle in this kind of business. Staying a moment longer could plunge them into even greater trouble. Gu Qianyan and Zhou walked towards the elevator together. At this moment, Zhou, after all, had not yet experienced too many complicated matters. A place like this was undoubtedly as terrifying as hell for him. He was scared to death, his only thought being to quickly get Gu Qianyan away from this place of trouble. With a ding, the elevator arrived. Chow, let's go, Zhou urged anxiously. I didn't come back to live like this. Gu Qianyan looked at Zhou and said this, a sentence that left Zhou completely bewildered. Before Zhou could come to his senses, Gu Qianyan suddenly turned around, her gaze firm, and walked toward the fire alarm box opposite the elevator. Chow. Zhou suddenly got goosebumps all over and immediately rushed out of the elevator. Bang! Before Zhou could run over, Gu Qianyan picked up a fire extinguisher and smashed the glass of the fire alarm box in one go. Immediately after, without hesitation, she pressed the fire alarm button for the entire building. As soon as the fire alarm rang, the entire clubhouse was thrown into chaos. In a chaotic crowd, Gu Qianyan saw the woman who had just been calling for help. She immediately breathed a sigh of relief and quickly said to Zhou, let's go. Zhou was completely stunned at this point, his mind filled with thoughts of how they would explain this later. Could they even get out of this clubhouse alive? Soon, Gu Qianyan and Zhou ran to the first floor. They saw a few men who were so panicked that they ran straight out the main door in their underwear. There were also some scantily clad people, frantically looking for something to cover themselves while cursing. Where's the fire? Where's it burning? Who pulled the fire alarm? Jin Sheng, leading Gu Qianyan, ran out right after Gu Qianyan. He was just about to enjoy himself, but ended up getting drenched with water, looking utterly pathetic. It was me. Gu Qianyan's small face was filled with panic. She looked like an innocent little animal that had been frightened. I heard someone shouting for help just now, and I also heard someone say there was a fire. I saw the fire alarm button, so I used the fire extinguisher to break it open and press it, wanting to call for help. I didn't expect to cause such a huge commotion. Gu Qianyan, you did this on purpose, didn't you? Deliberately causing trouble for President Jin. Gu Qianyan immediately seized the opportunity, not letting go of any chance to accuse Gu Qianyan. I didn't. Gu Qianyan put on a helpless expression as if she couldn't defend herself. President Jin, I really heard someone shouting. In any case, this was indeed my mistake this time. I will compensate for all the losses of the clubhouse at full price. Compensation? Can things compensate for everyone's emotional distress? Gu Qianyan asked with a cold smile. Shut up. President Jin, already full of anger, raised his hand and slapped her. Right now, all he wanted was for Gu Qianyan to leave quickly and take all the pests like the surrounding reporters with her. You go first. I'll handle this here. We can talk about the money later, President Jin said patiently to Gu Qianyan, urging her to leave quickly. Gu Qianyan nodded. Then she walked towards the main entrance with Zhou. As she walked, Gu Qianyan suddenly seemed to see something and stopped in her tracks, quickly looking back. At the side door of the clubhouse, 2 tall, well-dressed men with outstanding temperaments stood together. One of them was leaning in and whispering something into the other's ear. After being reborn, Gu Qianyan had been walking on eggshells every day and had almost forgotten about her diamond baby from that night. She never expected that at this time. She would see him again at this clubhouse. However, Gu Qianyan looked at the man whispering in the diamond baby's ear and pondered to herself about his profession. Appearing at a clubhouse so early in the morning with another man and acting so intimately. Chow, what's wrong? Zhou gently tugged at Gu Qianyan. Nothing. Let's go. Gu Qianyan immediately came to her senses and said, the oblivious young Master Gong. After watching Gu Qianyan leave, also prepared to leave with a dark face. He had no intention of greeting her. her, as he still had important business to attend to. He then went to President Jin's room and questioned him. Was it you who bullied Gu Qianyan? In the blink of an eye, President Jin was beaten black and blue by Gong Yi and the other man, collapsing on the ground, unable to get up. Gu Diheo rushed over from outside and anxiously asked, President Jin, are you all right? President Jin raised his eyelids irritably and said in a foul mood, all right? Do I look all right to you? Gu Diheo, you people are really something. You clearly knew the person behind Gu Qianyan was Si Bei, yet you still dared to use me to go against her. The bodyguard quickly helped President Jin up. President Jin immediately gave an angry order. Call someone for me. Beat Gu Diheo to death. Don't stop your hands. As for Gu Qianqian on the floor, President Jin glanced at her and snorted coldly. Umph. Since you've fallen into my hands, you'll serve me well to atone for your sins. I'll let you go when Gu Diheo gathers the 300 million for me. Then Gu Diheo was beaten severely by the bodyguards and thrown outside like a waterfall. Gu Diheo received a phone call in the rain. It was from Gu Qianyan. Gu Qianyan taunted him on the phone. You're shouting so loudly. Anyone who didn't know better would think I was the one who trafficked you. Cut the crap. Gu Diheo, I'm giving you half a month to find my biological parents. Otherwise, this won't end until one of us is dead. After hanging up, Zhou couldn't help but ask Gu Qianyan, do you really think your biological parents are still alive? Gu Qianyan wasn't sure either, but she was just holding on to a sliver of hope that they were still alive and wanted to try looking for them. Then she asked Zhou, how is the search for the person I asked you to find? Zhou took out a slip of paper and said, found him. This is his phone number. Then he asked curiously, who is this person, Gu Qianyan? Why did you insist I find him right after you came out from President Jin's? Gu Qianyan was silent for a moment, then said slowly, he is someone who was once like me, a person in hell. That person was Su Lin. In her previous life, Su Lin's sister was passing by the clubhouse when she was spotted by those scumbags inside. She was forcibly dragged in and ultimately passed away. At this moment, the bruised and swollen young man dragged his injured leg off the bus with a numb expression. He was holding a photo frame in his arms, and one could vaguely see it was a black and white photo of a beautiful young girl. The people getting off the bus with him saw him holding such a portrait and all moved away in disgust. Some neighbors saw how badly he was injured and hurried over, saying with heartache, Su Lin, you went to settle scores with those scumbags again? Oh my, how did you get so hurt? Listen to your auntie. We can't afford to provoke those people. Give your sister a proper burial, then go back to school and study. When you've made something of yourself in the future, you can avenge your sister. Su Lin didn't speak, just numbly opened the door and went inside. The neighbor Annie shook her head helplessly, sighed, and also turned to go home. In the dim little house, Su Lin set up his sister's portrait, sat on a stool, and looked at it quietly for a while. His gaze slowly shifted to the 2 cans of gasoline in the corner of the living room. Make something of himself. Could an orphan like him make something of himself just by studying? What a joke. However, he still had a way to get justice for his sister. No matter the cost, he was determined to let everyone know that those scumbags had killed his sister. Just then, Su Lin's phone rang. He glanced at it. It was an unknown number. A very pleasant voice came from the other end of the line. Su Lin, I can help you. That person was Gu Qianyan. Afterward, relying on her knowledge of those wealthy businessmen from her previous life, Gu Qianyan carefully laid a large net and began to secretly retaliate against them. The businessmen all thought it was the work of their competitors, so they all started a cycle of reporting each other. And with a push from some unknown party, President Jin's clubhouse was also implicated. These wealthy businessmen could be said to be reaping what they sowed, all receiving the punishment they deserved. 10 days later, the boy band program that Si Bei was in charge of also officially began recording. Gu Qianyan's dressing room was filled with all kinds of gowns. These were all happily sent over by Yin Chengcheng. Moreover, the gowns Yin Chengcheng sent were all haute couture, each one worth a fortune. Looking at those gowns, Yin Chengcheng's nature as a rich fool was firmly established in Zhou's eyes. Xiao, do you think he has a crush on you? Trying to pursue you this way? After careful consideration, Zhou thought of this as the only possibility. In the dressing room upstairs, a person, Su Xian, walked in. Seeing Gu Qianyan's impressive appearance, he was very dissatisfied and started cursing in the dressing room. Idiot. Fortunately, he was stopped in time by his manager. The manager urged him to hurry up and do his makeup as the recording was about to start. Before the recording, Su Xian heard that Gu Qianyan had gone to the restroom, so he followed her. At this moment, he felt increasingly unhappy. He secretly thought, this scheming bitch Gu Qiaoyan, deliberately dressing up so extravagantly, she must be trying to steal my thunder. He tried hard to calm himself, walked over to Gu Qiaoyan's side, turned on the faucet, and pretended to wash his hands too. He said sarcastically, Gu Qiaoyan, you've gotten capable, haven't you? The online trending topic about me, the articles that step on me to praise you. You had someone write them, right? Gu Qiaoyan unhurriedly pulled out a paper towel, wiping her hands with a blank expression as she replied, Su Xian, are you this rude to all your seniors? Su Xian was stunned for a moment. In the past, whenever he encountered Gu Qiaoyan, she would always let him humiliate her. Senior? Su Xian rolled his eyes and said disdainfully, a senior who got famous again by being domestically abused? Sorry, in my book, only those with real talent count as seniors. You're nothing but a pretty face. A pretty face? I'll take that as a compliment on my looks. Gu Qiaoyan was completely unfazed. After throwing the used paper towel into the trash can, she turned to leave. How could Su Xian tolerate being ignored like this? He immediately chased after her, wanted to grab Gu Qiaoyan's arm. Gu Qiaoyan frowned and forcefully shook him off. Who knew that Su Xian's face would turn cold as he said, a fool who helps human traffickers that killed her own parents make money. Why do you have to be arrogant in front of me? Gu Qiaoyan had already reached the door, but her footsteps suddenly stopped. Then she slowly closed the restroom door. Say that again. Gu Qiaoyan turned around, her gaze so cold it was chilling. Did I say something wrong? Although Su Xian was a little scared in his heart, he still forced a cold laugh. Your adoptive parents are human traffickers and even killed your biological parents. Didn't your own manager say so? He still felt that Gu Qiaoyan definitely wouldn't dare to do anything to him. Gu Qiaoyan didn't speak, just slowly walked towards Su Xian. The next second, Gu Qiaoyan directly grabbed Su Xian's neck with one hand. Su Xian froze instantly and shouted in panic, Gu Qiaoyan, are you trying to kill someone? This is a recording venue. If I just scream, someone will come over immediately. Su Xian, that's enough. Gu Qiaoyan leaned close to Su Xian and said word by word, your little secrets, do you really think no one knows? Who propped you up? How many people have touched this body of yours? Have you counted them yourself? Su Xian looked at Gu Qiaoyan in shock. Then, out of shame and anger, raised his hand to scratch Gu Qiaoyan's face. Gu Qiaoyan was quick-eyed and fast-handed, directly grabbing his hand and smashing it towards the ground. Su Xian felt a sharp pain and was about to scream for help when Gu Qiaoyan spoke coldly again, don't mess with me again. Otherwise, I'll make you disappear from the entertainment industry. After speaking, Gu Qiaoyan didn't even spare him another glance and walked straight out. Su Xian was completely stunned. After the restroom door closed again, he couldn't hold it in any longer and burst into tears out of fear. Why is he crying? Zhou looked astonished. After all, Su Xian's fans on the internet all called him an iron-blooded tough guy, saying he was afraid of nothing and could endure hardship. Such an iron-blooded tough guy could actually cry? Gu Qiaoyan curled her lip and said lightly, I had a chat with him. It was probably too moving. Zhou looked puzzled. This situation was too suspicious. Then Su Xian called his manager over and whispered a few instructions in his ear. Shujia, come here. When the recording starts in a bit, remember to do this. Then, the time entered the countdown. Everyone was nervous, except for Gu Qiaoyan, who looked calm and composed, as if the upcoming recording was just a trivial matter to her. The performers before her finished one by one, and it was finally Gu Qiaoyan's turn. The light above Gu Qiaoyan's head lit up with a click. Standing in the center of that halo, Gu Qiaoyan, with her eyes slightly lowered, was as stunning and dazzling as a goddess. It was as if the instrument on her shoulder was not an ordinary violin, but some kind of magical weapon capable of captivating the entire audience. Everyone's eyes were focused on her, and they unconsciously held their breath. The entire venue was so quiet that you could almost hear a heartbeat. Then Gu Qiaoyan's wrist moved gently. The notes, which seemed capable of plucking at one's heartstrings, leaped from the strings, dancing in the air like nimble sprites. In an instant, a wave of inexplicable cheers erupted from below. The cheers were full of admiration and love for Gu Qiaoyan's performance. But who knew that in the next second, the violin string would snap? And all of this was Su Xian's doing from behind the scenes. He stood aside, smug, thinking to himself, Gu Qiaoyan, you didn't expect this, did you? I broke your violin. Now let's see how you, a a pretty face are going to perform. However, Gu Qianyan gave a wicked smile and decisively tossed the violin aside. At this moment, a beam of light happened to fall on her, and she began an impromptu dance. Now Su Xian was dumbfounded. He never expected that Gu Qianyan could actually dance, and dance so brilliantly at that. After the performance, the venue erupted in thunderous applause, echoing like thunder throughout the entire space. Backstage, Gu Qianyan knew very well that this was Su Xian's doing and said to him, "So who's the real pretty face, huh?" This remark thoroughly angered Su Xian, yet he was speechless. After Zhou Zhou came to get Gu Qianyan, they headed backstage. As they walked, he said with lingering fear, "That scared me to death just now. I thought it was going to be a disaster. Luckily, you managed to hold it all together in the end." At this moment, Gu Qianyan asked Zhou Zhou to get the surveillance footage, saying with a firm tone, "The scores that need to be settled must be settled." Zhou Zhou quickly responded, "Let's go change our clothes first then." After the mentors finish their performances, the show will officially begin. As she spoke, Gu Qianyan passed by the trainees' dressing room and suddenly noticed a familiar figure inside. However, she didn't think much of it and continued walking. Time passed bit by bit, and the trainee evaluations were already halfway through. Gu Qianyan lowered her eyes and flipped to the next trainee's profile. She habitually looked at the name first. The next individual trainee, Gong. As soon as Gu Qianyan's voice fell, a commotion started behind her. She glanced behind her with some confusion, wondering to herself, what's the background of this Gong? Why is everyone reacting like this? With curiosity, she then looked at the photo on the profile. When she saw the face of a boy, whose gaze was cold yet incredibly beautiful, Gu Qianyan was stunned. She remembered back when she slept with her diamond baby. Looking at his uniquely handsome face, she had lamented inwardly for such a promising talent to not enter the entertainment industry and instead work in that line of business. What a terrible waste. And at this moment, looking at the diamond baby on stage, she was not only a little dazed, but she also thought to herself, I actually, just like that, slept with a future top star. For so long after her rebirth, no matter what Gu Qianyan did, she was always righteous and confident, as if nothing could stir her emotions or make her afraid. Only now, she felt as if she had done something wrong, and she quickly averted her gaze. She kept muttering in her heart, the lights were off that night, and I even covered his eyes with a hair tie. Gu Qianyan, be calm, be composed. It's impossible for him to recognize you. She repeatedly gave herself these psychological suggestions in her mind, and her originally tense nerves slowly began to relax. At this time, it was the mid-recording break. Zhou Zhou quickly came forward and said, "There's a half-hour break. Let's go rest for a bit." Gu Qianyan responded, "You must be tired. I saw you've been a bit distracted since Gong Yi appeared," Zhou Zhou said as he helped Gu Qianyan down the steps. "And let me tell you, Gong Yi is simply divine-looking. He's an individual trainee, right? I have to find a way to lure him to our company." Hearing this, Gu Qianyan stumbled and nearly twisted her ankle. She felt a little annoyed with herself for being so disturbed by Gong Yi. After returning to the recording set, Gu Qianyan went back to her seat. "Xiao Xiao, you've seen so many trainees. Are there any you're particularly optimistic about?" Pei Yuxian asked Gu Qianyan. "Quite a few. If that Gong Yi from earlier has well-rounded skills in other areas, he might be my top pick," Gu Qianyan responded generously. Putting aside what happened that night, Gong Yi's face is a free pass in today's entertainment industry. If his skills can keep up, his future is absolutely limitless. Our top picks are pretty much the same. Pei Yuxian nodded. Indeed, almost all the mentors unanimously had high hopes for Gong Yi. The recording was about to begin, and Su Xian also returned from Gong Yi's side. "How did it go?" asked the rap teacher, Nico. "Very well. He's very gentlemanly and polite. He even asked me to teach him more in the future." When Su Xian said this, he suddenly glanced at Gu Qianyan for some reason. Gu Qianyan completely ignored him, just seriously looking at the next contestants to take the stage, the Xbox group, which was Yu Wei's group. Gu Qianyan's fingertips tapped lightly on the profile twice. Unexpectedly, Yu Wei suddenly looked at Gu Qianyan. With a pitiful expression, he said, "PD, could I trouble you with a favor? I need a dance partner." As soon as he said this, an uproar erupted from below. Gu Qianyan raised her head to look at him. She thought to herself, in her past life, this scumbag seduced her just to climb the ladder. In the end, when his reputation was in tatters, he even sent her to another man's bed. She was too stupid back then. This time, she was determined not to repeat the same mistake. I didn't expect him to be in such a hurry. He's tried to seduce me right from the start. He's really good at using this trick. No, you can't. This is your initial evaluation. Everyone is performing independently. If I help you, it would be unfair to everyone else. Gu Qiaoyan refused him without hesitation and without mercy. Do you want to continue? Gu Qiaoyan asked. Yue didn't waste the opportunity and still completed a dance. The recording continued until 5 in the morning, finally completing the initial evaluations for all the trainees. After the recording, Zhou saw how tired Gu Qiaoyan was and, wanting her to go home and rest early, went ahead to get her things and arrange for the car. Gong Yi walked past her, but just as they passed each other, he suddenly stopped. He said softly, "PD, I have some questions about the training camp rules. Can I ask you?" Gu Qiaoyan didn't expect him to take the initiative to speak to her. After adjusting her emotions slightly, she responded elegantly and generously, "Of course, you can. You can ask me or any mentor if you have any questions." Gong Yi lowered his head a little, his lips almost touching Gu Qiaoyan's ear. Gu Qiaoyan could clearly feel his breath on her neck. Then she heard Gong Yi's soft voice, asking word by word, "Can a mentor sleep with a trainee?" For a moment upon hearing this, Gu Qiaoyan thought she was hearing things. How could he recognize her? This is impossible. After a brief moment of self-doubt, Gu Qiaoyan quickly took a step back, rapidly increasing the distance between herself and Gong Yi. Of course not. Gu Qiaoyan forced herself to remain calm and answered with a straight face. It's a good thing she's an actress, she thought. No matter what this diamond baby is up to, I'll just deny it to the death. Is that so? Gong Yi looked at her, the corners of his eyes and mouth holding an inscrutable smile, as if he had seen through everything but wouldn't point it out, just watching Gu Qiaoyan pretend to be calm. At this moment, Gu Qiaoyan's heart was pounding like thunder, thumping nonstop. She prayed to all the gods and Buddhas in her heart, only hoping that Gong Yi would shut up and leave quickly. Please don't continue to discuss with her the fatal topic of whether a mentor can sleep with a trainee. Gong Yi, you're done with your interview too? Just then, Su Xian appeared out of nowhere. He walked straight up to Gong Yi, acting as if he were very familiar with him. Gu Qiaoyan secretly swore in her heart. No matter how much she had detested Su Xian in the past, at this moment, Su Xian was the most adorable person in the whole world to her. He was simply here to rescue her. A savior. Gong Yi just responded faintly, then looked at Gu Qiaoyan again and said unhurriedly, "Thank you, PD, for your patient explanation. If I have more questions next time, I'll come to you again." After speaking, Gong Yi turned and left. Gu Qiaoyan, you're something else. Su Xian's voice suddenly pulled Gu Qiaoyan out of her heart-pounding state. Don't think I can't tell. You've taken a liking to Gong Yi, haven't you? Su Xian said sarcastically, his face full of ridicule. Give me a break. He's only 18 and you're 23, right? What's that saying? An old cow grazing on young grass. It's not appropriate. Just let the little brother go. Miss Su, Qiao only turns 23 in August. Zhou happened to return at this moment and couldn't help but correct Su Xian upon hearing his words. It's just over a month. Is that important? Su Xian still responded with a playful smile. Miss Su, I just don't get it. Whether it's the press releases you arranged or the words you're saying now, you keep harping on the age of 23. What's the matter? Are you not going to live to see 23 yourself? Zhou had a smile on his face, but the words he spoke were as sharp as a knife, ruthlessly firing back. The smug smile on Su Xian's face immediately froze, and his expression turned very ugly. Gu Qiaoyan, is this how you teach your manager? Su Xian asked through gritted teeth. I'm an adult. Do I need him to teach me? Miss Su Xian, next time you open your mouth to speak, please use your brain. Do you think you're still young? Aren't you already 21? Zhou once again retorted impolitely. He had put up with Su Xian for long enough. How could he let Su Xian bully Gu Qiaoyan in front of him? Su Xian was thoroughly angered and, in a fit of shame and rage, without another word, raised his hand to slap Zhou. Just when he thought that this slap was definitely going to land today, Gu Qiaoyan, with quick eyes and fast hands, grabbed Su Xian's wrist. Su Xian cried out in pain and tried to break free, but found that Gu Qiaoyan was holding on tightly, making it impossible to escape. Not only did Gu Qiaoyan not let go, but she also stared at Su Xian with an icy gaze, her grip tightening even more. Su Xian immediately didn't dare to struggle. He looked up at Gu Qiaoyan and tried to argue. It was your manager who provoked me first. Gu Qiaoyan's face was cold as she said frigidly, replacing my violin. Was that also something my manager taught you? After the show started recording, I went to get the surveillance footage, as well as the clips that Xiao Xiao Xiao's follow cam operator shot at the time. I can give you as much evidence as you want. Then Gu Qianyan's tone grew heavier. Now we should talk about my losses. Subsequently, Su Xian apologized and paid compensation. His pathetic appearance almost made Zhou laugh out loud. A moment later, in Gu Qianyan's nanny van, Zhou looked at the transaction record on his phone, feeling as if this were all a dream. It was too incredible. Zhou, have someone investigate Diamond. No, Gong Yi. I need to know everything about him. Gu Qianyan officially mentioned Gong Yi. Zhou didn't find it strange at all. Instead, he said with a determined face, Gong Yi is a dark horse. We must get him. His expression was as if he could already see Gong Yi joining their company and shining brightly in the future. Zhou looked determined, then took an iPad out of his bag, quickly found a file, and handed it to Gu Qianyan. With a proud look on his face, he said, I've already looked through it carefully just now. This kid is clean. He grew up abroad, and his mother was an opera singer before she passed away. But it's quite pitiful. Both his parents are deceased. His education section is blank. He probably stopped studying after his parents passed away. Gu Qianyan carefully read through all the information about Gong Yi, one item at a time, thinking to herself, his family must have been quite well off when he was a child. Perhaps after his parents passed away, he lost his support and backing. Otherwise, he wouldn't have resorted to selling his body, right? How could such a beautiful child, who looked like an angel, encounter such a tragic fate? But sympathy was one thing. She couldn't take on someone like Gong Yi. After all, she had slept with him, and he clearly knew about it. This time, he came to participate in the competition, and she had reasonable grounds to suspect that Gong Yi was targeting her. To this day, Gu Qianyan still wasn't clear on what kind of person he was. Was he kind, or did he have ulterior motives? So, she really didn't want to place someone like a ticking time bomb by her side. Let's not sign him. I have a feeling that signing him will lead to big trouble. After reading the file, Gu Qianyan rubbed her brow and said with a weary face. The smile on Zhou's face immediately collapsed, his face full of disbelief. A feeling? Speaking of which, Xiao's feelings had always been very accurate. Many things that seemed so incredible before were ultimately proven right by him. The excitement from just now was completely gone. Zhou said with some annoyance, I've been looking for half a month and finally found one I like. How could you have a feeling? Let's look at some others. Gu Qianyan had already made up her mind. Seeing Zhou's disappointed look, she smiled and comforted him. Didn't we just make a windfall? Hearing this, Zhou instantly became serious and asked worriedly, Xiao, will we be okay going head-to-head with owls like this? Gu Qianyan smiled disdainfully, a ruthless glint in her eyes. She said, I just want them to know that I'm crazy. I don't play by any rules or routines. If you mess with me, either we die together or they die on their own. Ours is a big company. They won't risk a life-and-death struggle with a lunatic. Watching Gu Qianyan smile, Zhou only felt a chill run down his spine. He knew that once Gu Qianyan made up her mind, no one could persuade her. At the same time, Bei handed a file to Gong, saying, Gu Qianyan's manager had someone investigate you as soon as you started performing. They probably want to sign you to Gu Qianyan's company. This is the file prepared according to your instructions. Gong Yi crossed his long legs, his posture casual and lazy, but his tone was very certain as he said, Gu Qianyan won't agree. How do you know? Bei was full of doubt, really unable to understand where he got this confidence from. She's afraid of me, Gong Yi replied lightly, a hint of pride in his tone. Afraid of you? Bei looked perplexed, his eyes wide as he asked, Does she already know who you are? I don't know, Gong Yi answered bluntly. Bei was suddenly speechless, laughed in astonishment, and said helplessly, All right then, young Master Gong, as long as you're happy. For the next few months, you'll have to live in the training camp dormitory most of the time. Will you be okay with that? Bei asked, still a little worried. What misunderstanding do you have about me? Gong Yi looked at the hair tie in his hand and said with a very calm expression, Have you forgotten I've also lived in the slums, squeezed into a broken shed with a dozen other kids? Bei was taken aback, frowning subconsciously. He said, Why bring up that old history? It's fine as long as there's no problem. I've already had your luggage sent over. Gong Yi acknowledged. The show will air in half a month. You should probably give your family a heads up. I'm afraid your dad will be angered to death. Bei reminded him again. All the better if he dies, Gong Yi said as he tied the red hair tie to his wrist. Then he got up and walked out, saying as he went, If there's nothing else, I'm going to the dormitory. You and Yin Changchang should come here less often in the future. Gong Yi, what's that thing in your hand? Bei finally couldn't resist asking. Ever since he came in, he had seen Gong Yi holding a red strip of cloth, not knowing what it was for. To ward off evil spirits, Gong Yi replied without turning his head as he walked out the door. To ward off evil spirits? Sibai didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He shouted at the already closed door. Who are you kidding, you big fool? As Gong Yi walked on, he could vaguely hear Sibai's exasperated voice. He lowered his gaze to the hair tie on his wrist, and a pleasant smile gently touched his lips. In the practice room, because Zhou had to go handle endorsement matters, she brought back her previous assistant, Tian, to accompany Gu Qianyan during the program recording, who knew that in the next second, a voice appeared, loudly calling Qianyan's name. The next morning, after a simple breakfast, Gu Qianyan headed straight for the trainees' training camp. When she arrived, Yin Chengcheng happened to be there as well. As soon as Yin Chengcheng saw Gu Qianyan, he immediately came forward with a big smile and asked enthusiastically, Qiao, why are you here? Nothing much. Just came to see how their practice is going, Gu Qianyan replied with a smile. She wasn't wearing much makeup today, and her clothes were very casual, making her look like a student, exuding a youthful and carefree aura. I also came to check on the progress. Yin Qingqing's eyes revealed a bit of a hidden agenda as he secretly suggested, let's go together then. Class A's classroom is right ahead. I heard that everyone in Class A is very talented. Class A, Gu Qianyan's heart stirred slightly. Actually, she had originally planned to start her inspection from the last class, Class F. After all, that class had that big baby who gave her a bit of headache. But President Yan's invitation was so enthusiastic and hard to refuse. Gu Qianyan hesitated for a moment, but had no choice but to follow him to class of first. As soon as Gu Qianyan appeared, she was recognized by the trainees present. Good morning, everyone. Have you had breakfast? Gu Qianyan smiled and greeted everyone. We've eaten. Some trainees responded enthusiastically. Not yet. I'm on a diet. The team uniform makes me look too fat, another trainee joked. For a moment, the few people in the classroom chattered away, and the atmosphere was very lively. Only Gong Yi sat there without a word, as if the surrounding liveliness had nothing to do with him. Gu Qianyan was already trying very hard to restrain herself from letting her gaze drift towards Gong Yi. But who would have known? Her peripheral vision accidentally caught a glimpse of red. Her heart skipped a beat, and she subconsciously turned her head to look. She saw that on the wrist of the handsome, sweaty man, the dark red hair tie was particularly eye-catching, as if it were silently telling a story. Perhaps sensing Gu Qianyan's gaze, Gong Yi finally turned his head slowly to look over. Seeing this, Gu Qianyan suppressed the urge in her heart to grab a knife and chop off his hand, forcing a gentle smile onto her face. At this moment, someone said, Gong Yi, I've been wanting to ask you. The thing you're wearing is quite strange. It looks like a little girl's hair tie. At this point, a sunny and handsome trainee perfectly demonstrated what it means to touch a sore spot in front of Gu Qianyan, asking curiously, yeah, what is that exactly? Gong Yi raised his arm, and for the first time, showed a harmonious smile, asking in return, is it a hair tie? After a pause, he continued, it's not mine. Gong Yi raised his head slightly, his impossibly handsome face filled with an innocent and harmless expression, and said slowly, it's my older sister's. Hearing this, Gu Qianyan, who was being called older sister, felt her legs go weak, and she had a bad feeling in her heart. Why would your older sister give you that thing? Everyone looked puzzled and curious. To keep me safe, I guess. My sister didn't say, so I'm not too sure either. As Gong Yi spoke, he glanced at Gu Qianyan in a way that was both there and not there. Gu Qianyan's heart skipped another beat. She thought to herself, this kid's words have a hidden meaning. Keep him safe? Is he threatening her, telling her to ensure he advances all the way? If that was his goal, then Gu Qianyan would be disappointed in him. She originally thought he was quite good-looking, but she didn't expect him to be so brainless. After some pleasantries, Gu Qianyan left with Yin Chengcheng to continue inspecting the other classes. After Gu Qianyan finished inspecting every class, it was just about time for lunch. Yin Chengcheng enthusiastically invited Gu Qianyan to eat with him. Gu Qianyan smiled and politely declined. She had originally planned to go back to the dance studio to practice, but as she passed by Class A, she happened to see Gong Yi alone in the practice room. Gu Qianyan glanced at him, lowered her eyelids slightly in thought, and then said to Zhou beside her, Zhou, go do something for me. A short while later, Gu Qianyan slowly pushed open the door to the practice room. Gong Yi heard the noise and turned his head. Gu Qianyan looked at him, and said calmly, "Let's talk." Gong, he lowered his eyelids and chuckled softly. With a tone that carried an ambiguous feeling, he said, "Hello, older sister." Gu Qiaoyan looked at him quietly. The young man's slender neck, tilted slightly as he drank water, already had an indescribable sexy charm. Especially when he swallowed, his Adam's apple bobbed up and down, as if carrying a unique attraction. For some reason, some inappropriate scenes flashed through Gu Qiaoyan's mind. Her face instantly grew slightly hot. Gong, he seemed to notice Gu Qiaoyan's unusual state and looked at her with confusion. Gu Qiaoyan snapped back to her senses, quickly suppressed her wildly beating heart, and tried her best to regain her composure. Then she spoke. "That question you asked me last time, I'm a little worried. Is someone trying to use the unspoken rules on you?" Gong, he lowered his eyelids and chuckled softly. That smile seemed to hide many deep meanings, making Gu Qiaoyan feel inexplicably guilty. Immediately after, Gong, he slowly walked towards Gu Qiaoyan, step by step, with a unique aura, stopping only when he was right in front of her. "Teacher, you're asking a question you already know the answer to." Gong, he lowered his head slightly, leaning close to Gu Qiaoyan's ear, his voice soft, yet it seemed to carry an invisible force as it entered Gu Qiaoyan's ears. A vein on Gu Qiaoyan's temple throbbed uncontrollably. She thought to herself, this man's aggressiveness is too strong. Gong, he just looked at her, then placed his two hands on the bar on either side of Gu Qiaoyan's body, directly trapping Gu Qiaoyan within his physical space. Gu Qiaoyan's back was suddenly pressed against the bar. She was completely stunned, her face full of shock. She looked up at Gong in disbelief, feeling both shocked and angry. She thought, this is a practice room. There's a whole row of cameras on the opposite side. How dare he do this? Gong, there are cameras all over the other side. Gu Qiaoyan said word by word, trying to make Gong come to his senses and realize the inappropriateness of the moment. However, Gong just laughed, a hint of cunning in his smile. He said slowly, "Didn't teacher have someone turn them off before coming in?" Gu Qiaoyan was at a loss for words for a moment, cursing inwardly, "You little fox cub." The next second, Gu Qiaoyan suddenly remembered something else. She had indeed told someone to turn off all the recording in this room. But the problem was Gong himself still had a wearable microphone for sound recording that had to be turned off manually. And before she had a chance to tell him to turn it off, this fox had already started going crazy. "Your microphone?" Gu Qiaoyan asked anxiously. Before Gong could answer, Gu Qiaoyan, in her haste, quickly reached out and wrapped her arm around Gong Yi's waist in a posture of hugging him to remove the microphone from his back. Just as she was about to turn it off, Gu Qiaoyan discovered that the device was actually already off. Gu Qiaoyan was once again speechless, feeling both angry and helpless as she looked up at Gong Yi. She saw the smile on Gong Yi's face grow wider. That look clearly showed that he had planned all of this from the beginning. Gu Qiaoyan gritted her teeth, annoyed at herself for being outsmarted by him. No wonder, she thought. No wonder he dared to be so audacious. She angrily put the microphone back on and then grabbed Gong Yi's collar with both hands, pulling him forcefully towards her. Her eyes held a warning as she said, "Gong Yi, I don't know what you're trying to do. You won't say, and I don't want to ask anymore. But let me be clear up front. With a face like yours, it's not hard at all to make it in the entertainment industry. You helped me, and I'm willing to help you. But if you don't know what's good for you and insist on going against me, you will definitely not have a good end. Did I help you? When? Where? How?" Gong asked slowly, word by word, with his eyes lowered as if he really knew nothing. Yes. Gu Qiaoyan was once again choked up, unable to speak. Just then, a knock came from outside, along with Zhou's voice. "Qiao Qiao, it's time to go." This was the secret signal she had arranged with Zhou beforehand. As soon as someone came, Zhou would knock on the door like this to tell her to leave. Gu Qiaoyan let out a long sigh of relief, released her grip on Gong Yi's collar, and then subconsciously patted his chest with both hands to smooth out the wrinkled clothes. Only then did she realize that although Gong didn't look bulky, his muscles were very firm. In a few days, the sponsor will take the Class A trainees to shoot a commercial. "Let's meet privately." Gu Qiaoyan thought for a moment and said. Gong Yi's response was surprisingly obedient in tone. That obedient feeling was a stark contrast to his aggressive demeanor just now. The fire in Gu Qiaoyan's heart was extinguished quite a bit just like that. She even began to suspect if she was being seduced to the point of losing her mind. She actually felt that he didn't seem to have any hostility towards her, but rather seemed to be playing a prank. Gu Qianyan gritted her teeth, trying her best to look fierce. Her gaze inadvertently fell on his wrist, where he wore the red hair tie. The hair tie seemed even more glaring in her eyes at this moment. "It's not good looking. Don't wear it," Gu Qianyan said irritably. "Understood, teacher," Gong Yi replied very firmly. Whether it was Gong Yi calling her older sister in the morning or teacher now, Gu Qianyan felt uncomfortable all over. The feeling was indescribably awkward. Zhou had long been waiting anxiously outside the door. Gu Qianyan opened the door and walked out. Zhou immediately looked curiously into the practice room. There, in the golden sunlight, the young man was as beautiful as if he had walked out of a painting, slowly and methodically untying the keep-me-safe hair tie given by his older sister. Watching this scene, Zhou couldn't help but sigh in his heart. A money tree. This is a living money tree. Gu Qianyan didn't say another word, her mind full of calculations. Her mind was filled with thoughts of how to handle this troublesome yet extremely attractive baby. After Gong, he untied the hair tie. He folded it carefully and then cautiously put it in his pocket. He seemed to be in a rather good mood. Then he picked up his things, preparing to go back to the dormitory to take a shower and continue practicing in the afternoon. But as soon as he walked out of the classroom, he was stopped by someone. It was Yue. Yue's mouth twitched slightly, feeling extremely unhappy. Just now, he had personally seen Gu Qianyan hurry out of the practice room. A man and a woman alone, with the doors and windows closed, hiding in the practice room. Who knows what they were doing in there? No wonder Gu Qianyan was so cold to me before. It turns out she already had someone in her heart. "What's your relationship?" Yue couldn't help but ask, his tone carrying a hint of interrogation. "What's my relationship with her got to do with you?" Gong, he showed no courtesy at all, his tone as cold as ice. His eyes were filled with impatience, as if Yue had asked an extremely stupid question. Quite arrogant, Yue smiled speechlessly, feeling very displeased. "Kid, don't think you're all that just because you're a little better looking. In this place, what matters is talent. Where's your talent?" Gong Yi's words were truly a sharp jab, hitting Yue's sore spot. After all, this time Yue was actually assigned to Class C. In this training camp, Class C was considered the lower circle. For the always arrogant Yue, this was already a rather embarrassing matter. "You know how you got into Class A? Aren't you just being kept by Gu Qianyan? What are you so proud of?" Yue, angered to the point of speaking without thinking, blurted out such words. After hearing this, Gong, he just took a step forward, stopped beside him, and then lightly dropped a sentence. "You wish she wanted you, don't you?" These words thoroughly angered Yue, who felt as if he had been struck by lightning. His face turned red and then white, and he couldn't recover for a long time. Before he could react, Gong, he had already left without looking back. That dashing back view made Yue grind his teeth in anger. "Gu Qianyan doesn't want me? Bullshit," Yue thought viciously to himself. "It's just that this pretty boy, Gong Yi, beat me to it. Just you wait. I'll snatch both the debut opportunity and Gu Qianyan. When that time comes, I'll definitely trample back on the humiliation this pretty boy gave me and let him have a taste of being looked down upon." On the other side, Yin Chengsheng was secretly waiting for Gong Yi to come out of the practice room. Seeing Gong Yi come out, he quickly followed him. "Why are you here again?" Gong Yi asked with some helplessness. "I'm the chief producer. Of course, I have to come and check on the recording situation frequently." After speaking, Yin Chengsheng lowered his voice again and said with a mysterious air, "You know as well as I do, whether or not I get sent off to be a tribal consort depends on this one time." "Then why are you blocking me?" "People are already suspecting that I'm being kept by Gu Qianyan." "What's the matter? Does President Yin want to join this camp too?" Gong Yi teased. Yin Chengsheng was stunned for a moment, his eyes wide as he asked, "That kid just now said that?" Gong Yi acknowledged. "He must not want to make it in the industry anymore. Don't mind him. I'll have someone get rid of him right away," Yin Chengsheng said angrily, thinking that he couldn't let Gong Yi suffer such an injustice. Gong Yi glanced at him and said with a rather serious expression, "This is a competition. The only reason for anyone to leave is to be eliminated. I disdain using any underhanded means against this kind of person." Yin Chengsheng was stunned for a moment and quickly understood Gong Yi's meaning, his admiration for him growing even more. Then, Yin Chengsheng remembered something and asked, "By the way, why was the honey peach looking for you?" Gong Yi raised an eyebrow slightly and said with a half smile, "Who knows? Maybe she really wants to get with me." When Yin Chengsheng heard this, he stumbled and almost fell. He cursed inwardly. This Gong Yi really dares to say anything. Meanwhile, After Gu Qianyan returned to the nanny van, under the shocked gazes of Zhou Zhou and Xiao Tian, she drank a large glass of water in one go, as if she had been thirsty for a long time. You didn't talk to him for that long. Why are you so thirsty? Zhou Zhou asked in astonishment. Gu Qianyan put the water glass down forcefully. By now, she had finally come to her senses. Recalling all of Gong Yi's actions just now, that one glance, that one smile, she suddenly understood. Gong Yi had only one purpose. He was seducing her. Gu Qianyan cursed inwardly. I really didn't expect this. I really didn't expect it. The more she thought about it, the angrier she got. Gu Qianyan picked up the mineral water in the car and chugged down more than half the bottle. But after drinking, the anger in her heart didn't dissipate. It grew even stronger. If he keeps confusing me like this a few more times, I might really not be able to hold out. Gu Qianyan thought to herself. Not signing him was the right decision, Gu Qianyan said angrily. Then she instructed Zhou Zhou, do me a favor. In 3 days, pick up Gong Yi. On the other side, Yin Chengcheng was also asking Gong Yi, so what's your next step? Gong Yi, however, looked calm, the corners of his mouth slightly raised in a mischievous smile as he said, of course, I'll let my older sister have me. In the blink of an eye, the theme song assessment day arrived. The atmosphere in the entire training camp became exceptionally tense. With the completion of the various assessments, it was time to announce the ranking results. And the last spot for promotion to Class A was given to Gong Yi without any suspense. After all the rankings were completed, the cruelty of the competition system became even more apparent. In this assessment, some trainees were promoted and naturally, some were demoted. The trainees who were promoted were, of course, overjoyed, their faces beaming with joy. But those who were demoted were a completely different picture. Several of the demoted boys were already crying like they were heartbroken, their unstoppable tears filled with disappointment and sadness. After all, everyone wants to move to a better class, to a higher position. This is just one mentor assessment. Whether you can all successfully debut as a group in the end is still in the hands of the national producers. To those who were demoted, don't be too sad. The upcoming public performance is where you will truly get to show your skills. And for those who were promoted, don't be arrogant. You must not let your guard down. You must know that the beasts are right behind you. If you don't run forward with all your might, it's a dead end. Gu Qianyan said with a serious expression. She hoped these trainees would understand that in this fiercely competitive entertainment industry, every step must be taken with full effort. The trainees will become the first lucky ones to have a mid-show commercial. This mid-show commercial is an ad that airs in the middle of the program broadcast, and it can be considered a special reward from the training camp for these outstanding trainees. Now, please have everyone from Class A gather in the first floor lobby to prepare to go to the commercial shooting site to film your first mid-show commercial. After saying this, Gu Qianyan subconsciously glanced at Gong Yi. Gong Yi seemed to have noticed her gaze and seemed to raise an eyebrow at her slightly. Although it was just a fleeting action, Gu Qianyan still keenly sensed his proud little emotion. However, Su Xian mistakenly received this signal, thinking that Gong Yi was raising his eyebrow at him. Instantly, Su Xian's heart bloomed like a flower, and he was overjoyed. His whole being was ecstatic. He was so flustered by this small action of Gong Yi's raised eyebrow that his mind began to wander. He even started to calculate what resources he would introduce to Gong Yi if he obediently listened to him. He looked as if Gong Yi was already in his pocket. Sister Qiao, after what happened last time, I went back and thought it through carefully. There's no need for us to be at odds. As they were leaving the waiting room, Su Xian suddenly quickened his pace, sidled up to Gu Qianyan, and walked forward shoulder to shoulder with her. As he walked, he said, by the way, out of courtesy, I'm telling you, sparks have already flown between Gong Yi and me. So, older sister, you should stop having ideas about him, lest he's too afraid to refuse you for fear of offending you and lives in constant anxiety. Sparks? Gu Qianyan wasn't angry. She just found it quite interesting. She was curious about what these sparks Su Xian was talking about really were. Could it be that Gong Yi was a player, flirting with her while also running a parallel line with Su Xian? You saw just now, right? He was making eyes at me, Su Xian said with a helpless look, but his expression held a hint of smugness. These young guys nowadays are really something. I wonder if the camera caught it. I'll have to talk to the editor later. If there's a shot of it, it has to be cut. I'll also have to have a good talk with him later. He has to be more restrained in front of the camera in the future. Even if he likes me that much, he still has to control himself. Hearing his words, Gu Qiaoyan was speechless for a moment, just silently rolling her eyes in her mind. Gu Qiaoyan then got into her own nanny van and set off for the shooting location. After getting in the car, Zhou looked indignant and said sinisterly, "I just saw Su Xian get on the trainee's bus. The way he looks at my baby, it's full of greed, evil thoughts, desire, and possessiveness. It's just too filthy." As Zhou spoke, he even ground his teeth, looking so anxious as if he were afraid Gong, you would be defiled by Su Xian. Xiao, why didn't you get on that bus? What, are you planning to have your boss go protect your baby? Gu Qiaoyan said teasingly. Gu Qiaoyan said slowly, "You're getting anxious here, but for all you know, he might be enjoying it." On the day of the initial selection, after Gu Qiaoyan confirmed that Gong Yi was the future top star, she had overlooked an important matter. You see, in her previous life, she and Gong Yi had no interaction whatsoever. But even so, he still participated in this program and ended up debuting in the center position. This meant that with or without her, Gong Yi would have come to participate in the National Idol program. He might have really just come purely to become famous, and it was just a coincidence that he ran into her in this life. Coupled with his blatant flirting last time, Gu Qiaoyan became even more unsure about this diamond baby. She couldn't help but suspect. Would he really return to his old profession for the sake of his future? Gu Qiaoyan's mind was in turmoil, filled with all sorts of speculations about Gong Yi.